I've no idea. I'm sure we're
Okay.
live now. Apparently we've been live for 7 seconds. We're live! I
Oh.
think.
Hey! Hello, everyone! Welcome to Those Aren't Biscuits, the live stream edition. Also, the saved edition as well, but that comes later.
Possibly.
I am one of your hosts, John Cadotte, and with me, as always, is Owen Adams. How's it going, buddy?
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. I'm just setting up the stream here. And I've sort of settled for not cutting these off on the saved editions, which I have going back now. So, you know, we've been doing the hellos around this point anyway. Yeah, you gotta let things you gotta let these things grow and change organically, particularly if it means, you know, less work.
Exactly, I personally think that a lawn overgrown with weeds looks better anyways.
Right. Right. And if you just stamp it
Natural.
down after a while, it just stops growing, and you don't have to do it that much.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Then you just tell everyone that you have rare wild grasses, and by law you can't touch them.
Right. So, sorry, that's a protected clump. That's a rare tri-star formation of nettles. And
Right? Nettles. Oh God. You ever fallen into nettles?
I have.
It's miserable. It's the most miserable experience of your entire fucking life.
It's worse when you saw the nettles and you needed to be past them and there was a longer way, but you think to yourself, no, I can get through that without getting hit by those. They're only leaves. Nettles is one of those things where you see them, you know what they are, but it's been a while since your last sting, you just think, it's probably not as bad as I remember. But it is.
Oh, and the worst is when you think it's all over, like, okay, the nettles are finally gone, and you actually, like, brush your hand, like, the wrong way,
Yeah.
and you realize, no, they're still in there, and they're gonna be there for a fucking week.
Oh, when you get in the shower or the bath or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good. Nettles, they suck.
Yeah.
Hello,
If
everybody.
there's any plant that I wish, extinction, nettles is up there.
I've always been weirdly sort of curious about nettle soup. Because I know
Yeah.
that in theory it must boil off like the stings, but I would just love it if it just didn't and people just ate it. Like, ow! Fuck it, Jesus.
Or like,
But
all
it's
the
full of
nettles boil off and they
antioxidants.
just fall to the they just fall to the bottom of the pot. So whoever gets that last bowl is just in for a fucking nightmare. Well, that'll teach you, Timmy. You should have got to the pot sooner.
And there's always someone with advice like, if you go find a leaf that is this color and rub it on your... No, not that one. It does nothing. They just grow in the same place. So people
Right.
conclude that it works.
That's the funny thing about plants, though, where it's like all the home remedies for plants and like using plants are all kind of like dubious. I mean, I know there's some that are real. Like, yes, aloe vera does help burns. That's
Yeah.
clear.
And aspirin comes from tree sap.
Right. So I get that there are like homeopathy is like a thing.
No,
And-
not homeopathy. No, that isn't.
okay,
That's totally
well,
different.
fine.
You know what
Whatever it
homeopathy is, right?
I thought it was just like natural remedies.
Oh, no. Natural remedies, I'm with you. I'll tell you what homeopathy is in a minute if you don't know what it is, because it's so funny.
Okay.
Like, it's legitimately funnier than you could possibly believe. But you carry on saying what you were saying first.
Okay. Well, okay. So all those like organic home recipes with plants, I can buy into some of them. I can. But there's a lot of them that are kind of like a little flimsy.
It's when they
The
tell
exact
you that
opposite,
they
though,
only work in
like,
certain
all the
phases
natural-
of the moon. Sorry, we got a delay there.
All the natural things that hurt you are 100% solid as a rock. Like,
Yeah, yeah. That's true. Like, there's no There's no, like, oh, if you take this and you give it to their enemies, it'll hurt real bad, and you try it, and you're like, nah, that didn't really work. That was an old wives' tale. No, they're all just pretty much shit.
Yeah, it's like... It's one of my things where, like, I laugh when it's like, people are like, oh, well, you know, humans were never intended to drink cow's milk. But you know what? Humans weren't intended to fucking eat or drink anything, because everything in this planet tries to kill us. It really does.
Yeah. You know, I agree. Like, humans weren't intended to drink cow milk, but it's delicious. You know who was intended to drink cow's milk? Cows. You know what they got? Mammalian stomachs, like us. It'll be fine.
Right. 6 of them, in fact. They have 6 of them.
Oh man, homeopathy though. You don't know what homeopathy is. This is great.
Apparently, I don't.
I thoroughly enjoy homeopathy. It's my favorite weird belief.
Oh, is this along the same lines as your chiropractor beliefs?
It's amazing. So homeopathy is a really old remedy that comes from like a very early misunderstanding of how vaccines work. And so it comes from this ancient belief, but it found more popularity once vaccines started to become a thing. But the belief is that basically like cures like, right? So if you are poisoned, this it's so fundamentally stupid, it's hard to explain it without pointing out how stupid it is. Say you've been poisoned by a snake, right?
Okay.
And you want to no longer be poisoned by the snake. You want to cure that poison. A little bit of something that poisons you in the same way but isn't the same thing must obviously be the cure. So, homeopathy, basically what they do is... Okay, so let's I can't think of a specific ingredient, but let's say you have back pain, right? And
Sure.
there is an ingredient that gives you back pain. What they will do to make a treatment for your back pain is they'll take a little bit of this ingredient and they'll dilute it in water. And one dilution is like 1 part in 100, right? And then they dilute it again. And then they dilute it again. And they dilute it again. And a key component of homeopathy is that the more times you dilute the ingredient, you're making it stronger. Because what you're doing is you're taking this thing that's bad for you, but you're diluting it. So you're creating the opposite effect. Right? So, essentially, they dilute it millions upon millions of times. They have machines that do this. So it puts one little drop of an ingredient in a test tube of water. Then it puts another one in. Then it puts that into a test tube of water. Then it puts that into... one drop from that in, you know? Each time it's putting one drop. Until, essentially, scientifically, objectively... no molecule of the original ingredient could possibly exist in the treatment that you're getting.
Right.
And then the belief is that the more times you dilute it, the more powerful a treatment for the thing it is. Because, I don't know, memory of water is something they say. Which my favorite retort to that is, if that's true, most of the water we drink must be carrying around a lot of memory of all that sewage that we flush into it. But
Right.
But that's homeopathy. It is the belief that if you are ill because you're allergic to pollen, and you take a little bit of pollen and you dilute it billions upon billions upon billions of times, it is the greatest medicine known to man.
Huh.
It's so weird.
Isn't that kind of the idea behind this, like, building tolerance?
Except you don't... But the end treatment that you receive, you don't receive the dilution. So you don't take any of those intermediary steps. You don't take the ingredient, then take the diluted one, then take the diluted one. The only bit you ever take is that final one that's been diluted billions upon billions of times. You just drink water. It's a way of selling water. And the trait that the industry always uses as a measure of success is, but look at all these companies that are selling homeopathic remedies. They're making great profits. So everybody loves it. Yeah, because they're selling nothing in a capsule. Yeah, it's crazy. It's insane, homeopathy.
I wonder what I got that confused with then.
I think because the word homeopathy makes you think that maybe it's an alternative word for home remedies, you know?
I don't know.
But it's very popular among the same crowds. You know, kooks.
Right. Oh, well, there you go, everyone. You learned something today. Homeopathy.
For kooks. It's crazy. Yeah, they believe that essentially there is the common belief that the most scientific phrasing of the belief is that the process of dilution, basically, it takes a memory, like a shape of the ingredient that was included, and transfers it molecule to molecule by diluting it and shaking it, without including any of the toxic effects, and something about that shape tells your body how to heal, but in reality there's no... They've done double-blind tests and everything, it doesn't have any effect on people. Hello, oh, Chaos says, so the origin of the I don't know this word. The test. What is that word? Capsaicin? Why can't I read this damn thing?
Is that the thing that's like in pepper?
Maybe it's a rockin' way of spelling capsizing.
It's trying to spell capsizing while capsizing.
Yeah.
So it's capsizing. Oh no!
I think it's capsaicin, which is just a Jamaican person saying capsizing.
No, that's the stuff that's in pepper, isn't it? Like cayenne pepper?
I have no idea. Yes, what John said. Now you learn something. Yeah, fair enough. That's what it was.
I was right.
This is the part of the show where we spend too much time fussing over details in the chat that people later on can't see. But hello, people watching. Welcome. This is if you're new here, we take questions on the podcast, but only at sort of set intervals. We don't do direct chat interaction all the time, but drop in, listen to the show, ask us questions, and we will get to them.
Right. So, on with the show. I had a fun experience today.
Did it involve a sandwich?
It did.
I know you so well, my friend.
All right. So,
I'm so glad it involved a sandwich.
I have a deep, abiding love for fast food. Right. I do. There's no way around it. I love fast food. All shapes and sizes. Except Taco John's. Taco John's is gross.
I like this all shapes and sizes. Would you eat like McDonald's but in some really abhorrent shapes?
Sure.
So like, I don't know. If you could get a Big Mac...
Chicken nuggets look horrific.
No, I mean like if you could get a Big Mac shaped like Bill Cosby, would you eat it?
Oh, without a doubt.
Would you be... Okay, so here's another question. You're at McDonald's. They offer you a choice between two Big Macs. They're both the same price. They both contain the same ingredients and are ultimately the same mass of food. One is a normal one, and one is shaped like Bill Cosby. Which do you choose?
Well, I mean, if it's my first time, I'm choosing Cosby.
Right.
But if I imagine eating a Bill Cosby Big Mac, it's probably not like easy to hang on to. And the greens are like falling out and stuff like that.
Plus, after a while, you start to get kind of sleepy.
Well, that happens after McDonald's no matter what.
Sorry.
You just eat that last bite. It's like, oh, Ruby.
That wasn't a long con.
Yeah, okay. Whatever you say. No, I imagine it wasn't a long con. He just put the pills in the drink and you let it happen. It doesn't take that long.
I'm surprised by you saying this happens whenever you eat McDonald's. Do you wake up with a rather sore behind as well? Is there something wrong? Something rotten at your local McDonald's?
Wait, this doesn't happen to everyone? You don't eat McDonald's, get sleepy, wake up in Iowa? That's not common?
Well, yeah, no, I wake up in Iowa all the time after I eat at McDonald's. I'm asleep for a really long time.
So, yes, I like fast food. I really do. I know it's terrible for me. I know it's not real food. Blah, 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 blah. It tastes damn good.
It's
So,
terrible
shut
for
the hell
you
up.
and a non-stop source of entertainment for the show.
So, today I go to this one restaurant. I'm going to try to avoid any sort of libel, I guess. But I went to this one restaurant, and normally I'm going to go inside kind of guy. Like, I'll just go in, get my food. But every once in a while, it's like, you know what? Just drive through. Drive through works
right.
great.
I was going to say, as opposed to what? Just standing outside looking at the windows? You're like, food.
Right.
I want to
most
say...
people in the world, and still drive.
You just...
You haven't figured out the bike yet.
People outside going, why is he just standing there licking the window? I like to savor the experience.
There's hints of grease on this window. You're just wasting it.
I'm on water
And I'm
today
the
instead of
heathen.
Pepsi. You'll be able to hear me opening and closing my bottle. Sorry, that was a background noise update.
Is that a euphemism?
Unfortunately, yes.
So, okay. So, I'm going through the drive-thru. And I pull up, and I make my order. And the lady ordering comes and goes, "Yep, no problem. Do you want any sauces with that?" Because this restaurant I go to, like, their thing is, like, they have all these different little packets of sauce that you can put on your burger.
Oh, sausage. I
like-
thought you said sauces. No, it's fine.
You know, sauces.
Yeah.
Sauces.
Oh, I thought you said... Didn't you say sausage the second time?
No, sauces.
Okay, carry on. Sorry, I thought the word sausage slipped in there somewhere.
Huh.
In my defense, I've never noticed this
Slip
before.
the sausage in somewhere.
In my defense, I've never noticed this before, but those two words do sound fairly similar.
Oh, yeah. So, I go, no, thank you. And, all right, your total is $8.79 or whatever. Please pull around. So I pull around, and the lady takes my debit card, hands me my drink. Set it down. She then hands me my card. Okay. And I sat down and I wait. And I wait. And I wait. And finally the lady opens the window and goes like, "Sir, do you need something?" Like, "Yeah, my food." Like, you gave me my drink, but you've never given me my food. And she's like, "No, you only got the drink." Like, "No, I ordered the full meal." She's like, "Are you sure?" Like, unless this is an $8 drink, yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Sorry. Technically, bread is a sauce.
And she goes, "Okay, well, what did you order?" So I told her what I ordered again. She said, "Oh, that's right. Do you need any sauces with that?" No, thank you. So I wait, and I wait. She comes back, and she hands me my food. I'm like, "All right, thank you." And she goes, "Do you need any sauces with that?" No, still don't need any sauce with my food. So I drive away, and I normally don't do this, but I had a weird feeling. So I pull into the parking lot, and I actually check my food. And sure enough, they gave me the wrong thing. I was like, "Oh, for God's sakes." So I go back inside, tell her that a mistake was made. And it's a different person at this time, right? And I'm like, "Okay, now I was in the drive-thru." We're like, "Okay, yeah, we'll fix that, no problem." So they're making the food, and I hear the lady from the drive-thru go, "Does he need any sauces?" Like, it's like, fuck, no!
That is a person who has only remembered one section of the training and lets it get in the way of everything else. Like, you know that the reason your food got messed up at least one time was because she came out with a big handful of sauces and then had to take them back.
Well, so I finally get my food. I go back in my car. I'm driving home, and I'm eating the burger, and I won't lie. I kind of stopped and went, this would have been better with some sauce.
What you should have done is you should have gone back and been like, hey, aren't you going to offer me any condiments?
Hey, where's my sauce?
She wouldn't have remembered. You know what it was, right?
Oh,
She's
she went like, oh, sorry, sir.
She remembered every time, but she's tried that burger without sauce. She was trying to help you. She was trying to save you. That's why she kept getting it wrong. If she could just run you through the system enough times, you would learn to just say yes to sauce. You might have said it by mistake, and she would have saved you a problem.
Maybe
she was trying to help you.
Personally.
And you know, halfway through the order, she probably turned around and she was like, "Al, he's not out there in the sauce yet. Sam, Ziggy says there's a 32% chance if he doesn't take the sauce with his burger, the world will be blown up by commies."
Right, I expect to be later tonight to be held up in an alleyway somewhere, and oh, if I only had a packet of horseradish sauce in my pocket, I could squeeze it into the mugger's eyes and escape.
She appears out of nowhere, throwing packets of sauce, and there's just a glow of blue light. It's like, you know what? All things considered, Al, that one was more difficult than I thought it was going to be. He just wouldn't take the sauce.
Oh, really? Come on.
She just wakes up, she's wearing the uniform.
Sauce?
She's in the drive-thru and you're just there screaming at her, "I don't want sauce, you dumb cow!" Oh boy.
Then the cops show up. Sir, this place has been closed for 3 hours. I don't want sauce!
Give me my food!
Damn sauce Nazis!
Jonathan needs a sandwich!
You damn saucies!
There's always a way. I meant to tell you, by the way, on the subject of fast food, I found out today that, well, I found out the other day actually, but I remember today that we are getting in England, I believe in fact in my city,
Taco Bell?
we're getting a Taco Bell.
Yes! Oh, Taco Bell's the best.
I will go and I will attempt to engineer a customer service nightmare so I can share it on the podcast. Do they have those things I see people
engineer
in?
It.
Do they have those things I see people eating in America? The taco hats. I always want one of those taco hats. I want a taco sombrero with guacamole around the rim. We're gonna get one of them.
Those aren't exactly common here.
What? The big taco hats? Boo.
Yeah. You don't just go out into the public and see someone wearing a taco hat.
Oh, I would wear mine all the time.
And it's taco. Taco.
As opposed to what?
You keep on saying taco.
Oh, I'm sorry. La-dee-da.
This isn't even like an English problem, color and color. It's just... This is a completely different language. You're pissing people off bilingually.
I'm not trying to think of a more irritating way to pronounce it. Taso. Taco. I'm going to get myself one of those tacos.
Taka.
Taka. Toka. Tooks.
Toka.
Toka. Toka. Yeah.
Well, as soon as you're going to Taco Bell, let me know, and I will tell you what to order.
Okay. We also got a Five Guys recently, but I literally only go in there to play with that fancy Coke machine. I'm gonna have
those ones where it's all the flavors and stuff.
I'm gonna have a Diet Coke with cherry and strawberry and lemon and lime, and then I'm gonna complain I don't like it and get my money back. And then I get to try the flavors, and then I can just leave and not pay such expensive prices for Coke.
Bad person. Did you ever see that video of the guy reviewing Five Guys?
No.
Oh man, they did a songify this thing of it, and it's the best one they've ever done.
Fair
like
enough.
those people who take like Barack Obama's speeches and turn it into a song.
Yeah, they did Double Rainbow.
Yeah, this is the damn guy. Oh my god, it's fucking funny.
You have a disagreement. Okay, as the chat says, congratulations and I'm sorry. Here all you have to do is order for them to screw it up, and Taco Bell is, well, rental food here. There you go. Someone has disparaged your beloved Taco Bell, John.
What does rental food? You have to give it back?
I don't know. Maybe it's a comment on how quickly it runs through the digestive system. I don't know. Perhaps it's a euphemism. Or not. I have no idea. I haven't heard the term before.
I don't know. That really confuses me. What rental food is? It's like, here, you have this for a limited amount of time, and then eventually you have to give it back. Or
it is one of the worst things you can rent. That
food,
and toilet
yeah.
paper.
Am I gonna get my security deposit back on this quesarito? Just
No. You put sauce on it. It's not acceptable.
You gotta pay damages. This is barely recognizable.
And they were like, I'm gonna have to see your deposit. You just belch.
Like, did you eat this? Like, yeah. It's food. No, it's rental food. You just look at it. You smell it.
They just hook you up to a drip. We're gonna take the. Sorry, we're gonna extract those nutrients from your blood now. That's the way we gotta do it.
Just on the spot liposuction. Give it back. Give it back.
And the next guy that comes along just gets your bloody fat in a cardboard container. Sorry, it was supposed to look better, but Mr. Greedy there ruined it.
Yeah, the past tenant. We promise, if you give us some more time, we can get you something better. But I'm sure.
The guy's like, no, I'm in a hurry.
There's only so much we could do.
I'm in a hurry. You got a straw?
Oh God.
He's like, hey, Taco Bell's looking up. I think the recipes are improving. Can I get this on like a hard shell?
I'm sorry. I know you had some issues with the past tenant, but did you at least check and see if he had sauce when he got this? Because
does he need it? He's getting a liposuction. You're hooked up to a drip, a catheter, and a vein in the back of the Taco Bell. Does he need any sauce? Does he?
No sauce. Just a transfusion.
Technically, we do count replacement plasma as a sauce. It adds another 5 cents to your order.
For every milliliter. Like, oh, Jesus.
How about napkins? No! Get the pipes out of me! Okay, it says it runs to the border. There we go, I believe that is what he was saying. The euphemism there. Runs to the border, don't you know?
Gotcha. Oh, so you're renting, so it's not with you very long. Okay.
Yeah.
I get it. So yeah, that was my...
You call it puppy food.
What?
Because you have a puppy, right? And you enjoy it for a little bit, and then after a while you have enough of it, and you move it on,
No, I've never called anything puppy food, and we need to discuss your issues with animals.
Alright. What, you just keep them all forever? Have a house with like 2, maybe 3 animals in it? Bullshit.
Yeah.
So what do you want to talk about today, John? You had something you wanted to discuss today. Very serious, you said.
Sure. I got a few things I can talk about, actually.
You said that like you've been holding a grudge for many years. Oh, he finally asked. All right. I'll get out my list.
All right. Finally, I got some things I want to discuss. 1, I hate your bald head. 2, I hate your stupid accent. 3, I hate your fucking name. 4.
Excuse me.
None of that's
true. I'm
true.
gonna shuffle a little bit. The stupid. I'm saying excuse me because it'll show up on the saved one, but the stupid sofa's being all loud.
Hey, you keep it down over there, sofa. Don't you talk back to me.
It's got a better party life than me. Like, I have to sit on the floor while it's down in the basement, listening to my Eric Clapton records with with a little poof down the road.
Well, yeah, the sofa has people sitting on its face every day, so.
Oh, yeah. Me, unfortunately, that's worrying.
It's only once a week with me.
Are you suggesting I'm in some sort of three-piece suite rim job situation?
I'm jealous, really.
Joe, that would really massively improve furniture sales, you know?
If every time you sat down, I was like,
No, I mean, if those ones with Swedish massage came with, like, a prosthetic tongue attachment. Like a pack of lube, you know?
The problem is you'd have to be, like, really, like, careful of the door when you're using it. Just,
I think, like, it would be
someone comes over. What you up to? 4 inches, apparently.
It's one of those give and take things, though, because as great a contribution to society as that would be, Frasier would be a completely different show.
Yeah?
You know, because his dad was always sitting in that armchair all day long.
Oh, right,
a little vibrating fabric chair. It would be very worrying. I want to see that. Actually, now I do want to see that.
Yeah.
It's funny what you want to see that you don't realize till you think about it.
He's still alive, too, the dad.
John Mahoney? Yeah. He was the, I always think of, like, I think it's because I like Frasier so much, he's so much a character to me. I think of him as Frasier's dad, but when I think of the actor, I always remember him as, the love interest's, oppressive father in, Say Anything. He still had brown hair. You remember? Didn't want Lloyd Dobler to go to, what was it, Paris? To Europe with his daughter?
Right.
I remember the plot to that film very well.
All I remember of that movie, of course, is in your eyes, like the heat, your eyes.
It is the birth of the greatest ever South Park joke. When, Wendy
shock the monkey.
Wendy breaks up with Stan and he's trying to figure out how to get him back. And Bebe says, stand under a window, holding up a boombox playing Peter Gabriel. It would have been great. Because they found that, like, it's the measure of how perfect that joke is. Anyone else would have stopped at Sledgehammer, you know?
Yeah.
But they found a stupider Peter Gabriel song.
Well, which one do you think is more popular, Sledgehammer or Shock the Monkey?
In this country, Sledgehammer. Definitely.
Okay. Because I feel like I definitely heard Shock the Monkey more in my life than I have Sledgehammer.
Sledgehammer here was, so I know this is not at all relevant to the music, but you know that weird music video?
Which one?
For Sledgehammer. Sorry, I forget you really have to narrow it down with Peter Gabriel. For Sledgehammer. That was made by the animation studio that made Wallace and Gromit. So, with that being like a British institution every Christmas, and there'd always be documentaries about Aardman when they were big, that used to get a lot of airplay as well, because I think that won an award as well, that music video, in this country.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think it did here too, actually.
Yeah, the get away from me, Peter Gabriel award. I don't want to see you turn into a tiny plasticine baby man. Leave this house.
You know what's actually really surprising, or not surprising, but weird? How similar Peter Gabriel and Billy Joel now look.
They've been the same person all along. Somewhere along the line, Peter Gabriel died, and Billy Joel just went, I can fill this. I can
do this.
I can be two men. And when he finally gets caught, he's just going to be, we didn't start the fire, pretending to be the guy from Genesis. Get out of my face. I can just add lyrics. We didn't start the fire. It was all... And everyone's like, well, it's true. He didn't start the fire. Therefore, we gotta let him go. Never mind these massive fraud charges. Something about Marilyn Monroe and rockets in the Falklands. We gotta, he didn't start the fire. Well, he's starting a fire right now. He's just at the corner light. I don't know, the song clearly indicates otherwise. That was how they discovered the mass arson of Billy Joel. A lifelong career of arson. Hidden behind a defense that he'd been singing "We Didn't Start the Fire" all these years. No one would ever believe it was him, you know? And it just started out with Peter Gabriel and him looking alike, and then that's how we found the man who started all those fires.
I feel like you've had that prep for a while.
No. Unfortunately, it just happened like
tell
that.
My Billy Joel fire story.
No, that just sort of fell out.
I was thinking like he just starts really mixing up words. We're just like, sing us a song, you're a sledgehammer man. Sing us a song, monkey.
Uptown girl, she's been living in a book of love. Is long and boring. No, oh shit, she's been no songs anyone with.
Shit, that's a Magnetic Zero song.
Wait,
Fuck.
sorry, hold on. Sorry, what was that, Billy Joel? We're in a strut. It was always burning, the apartment was empty. I checked all the rooms. The fire squad found no accelerant. Camping on me.
I didn't know about the child. He was so quiet, now he is. No.
Joe, I want to see the alternate universe where Peter Gabriel did the soundtrack to the Tarzan film.
It's just Shock the Monkey again.
Yeah. When the emotional moment when the baby dies at the beginning and the gorilla finds out she's lost her only child. Would you shock the monkey? Sorry, Mr. Gabriel, is this what you want us to put in the film? Well, that monkey is very shocked right now.
That moment when Tarzan goes and like speaks to his gorilla mother, you know?
Yeah.
And he's like, in your eyes, the light. Anyone? What? Like, no one else has a problem with this, right? Okay. All right.
Tarzan, what is that human implement you're using? It's a sledgehammer. Do, 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 do.
Well, you know what I think is funny? It's clear that we only know 3 Peter Gabriel songs.
It's true.
I think everyone only knows 3 Peter Gabriel songs.
Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it? Because like, it's kind of like the John Lennon McCartney thing. I know a lot of Paul McCartney, John Lennon, Beatles songs, right? And I know whose songs I prefer, right? With Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins, I assume I like Peter Gabriel more, but I know a lot more Phil Collins songs. I just know how much I don't like Phil Collins songs.
Salisbury Hill. That's the other one. It's Sledgehammer, Shock the Monkey, In Your Eyes, and Salisbury Hill.
Oh, and Uptown Girl. And Piano Man.
And Scenes from Italian Restaurant.
Peter Joelbriel.
Fuck. No, I did have something to talk about, actually.
Don't blame me. We didn't stop the fam. Billy Joel Arsonist is my new favorite comedy character. I wanna try get into the hot comic books of today.
Yeah, it's Miss Marvel, Daredevil, and Billy Joel Arsonist.
Yeah. Except, like, he was supposed to be a mutant, but Marvel don't want to put him in the books anymore because then Fox will get the license rights. So he just
right.
he
we
does
can't
just
give him the
start
right
fires.
to Billy Joel.
Billy Joel's like, I didn't agree to this. Fox is like, yeah, fuck you. They called you a mutant. You're ours. Yes.
Shut the fuck up. We got the rights to you and your alter ego Piano Man.
We own you. He's going to star in the film.
Bitch, Joel.
And Deadpool's still really successful, so Billy Joel has to star in all these R-rated.
It's just Billy Joel mercilessly killing people with a piano.
Yeah. And then getting pegged on.
Just do grimace teeth, just Brenda and Eddie were the popular steady in the summer of 72. It's my downtrodden Alexa. Almost kind of sad I know way more Billy Joel songs than Peter Gabriel songs.
I think that would get Hugh Jackman out of retirement. Chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they could go to him. Like, do you want to be in a new Wolverine film? He's like, I don't know. I feel like this is charted territory. There's not much new to explore in there. Well, in this one, Wolverine's gonna fuck Peter Gabriel.
No, Billy Joel.
Billy Joel, sorry. Yeah. Sorry, I always forget. Peter Gabriel is technically an inhuman.
He got dealt to Marvel with the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver deal. Oh. Well,
so
I can
movie
talk
trailers.
about a couple things. Huh?
Movie trailers, huh?
Okay, want to do trailers? Because I said I can talk about a couple things.
Oh, sure, go for it. I don't have any prepared subjects. I'm just here to derail and generally be difficult.
Okay, well, here, I'll get this out of the way real quick.
Okay.
I did finish Mass Effect Andromeda, the main story.
Oh, yeah. Okay. It's been like, what, about 2 weeks?
Yeah, I put about 20 hours into it, and I actually cleared up most of the side missions too, because they're as much as they did borrow from the Dragon Age Inquisition thing. The amount of side missions were completely manageable. It never got overwhelming.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I hear that they put a patch in that improves the animation as well. I thought that was interesting. I didn't expect that.
No, me neither, actually. It wasn't really so much the animations. It was the facial stuff. Like,
yeah, I'm so glad you were going to add another word onto there. It wasn't so much the animation, it was the facial. Like, you're right to the end. They're like, sorry, we fucked the animation up, but we've added a patch that just puts a massive cum shot right on the...
Yeah, the final mission is just bukkake. Just,
Hey, Red, does that make up for it? Is it...
And your character switched over to Billy Joel, just for some reason.
Oh, Billy Joel.
My favorite Billy Joel story is him driving drunk to that person's house. Just...
I hope he was singing We Didn't Start the Fire at the time.
No, he was singing Shock the Monkey.
So yeah, you finished Mass Effect Andromeda. Is it? Did it hold
Mass
up?
Effect Andromeda. Yeah, actually, it kind of gets. So there are some criticism of the game that I do think are valid. One, I would agree. I think the villain or the bad guys in it are kind of weak. Because it's so, I don't want to say stereotypical, but it's pretty stereotypical. It's, big, arrogant, bad guy wants to just wipe the face off the fucking galaxy for kind of unknown reasons. But what they do something right towards the end that actually kind of makes it a little interesting to me. Is right towards the end, and I don't know if you get this if you don't do the side missions. I imagine you don't, yeah, because it was a side mission string. But if you take this one quest line down to its end, you realize that the main bad guy, the Archon, isn't exactly well liked among its own people. And there's rifts forming. They try to oust him out of power. And if you follow the quest all the way down, you actually get contacted by a member of the bad guy race, the Cadotte, saying like, "Hey, let's make a deal. I will help you very soon for the exchange of you getting rid of the Archon. And you can either take the deal or deny it." And from what I read up, this decision actually does impact the final mission, which is kind of cool. But I did like that addition. Is that not only do the people that are serving under him not really like him and want him gone, there's actually it's the first revelation that he's not the end of it. He's actually a representative of something bigger. And the head honchos who are still out in the abyss, they don't like him either. They want him gone. But they can't get to him yet. So
he's not the final boss, is that what you're saying? Or is that just...
No, he is the final boss of this game. But the implication, if you follow this one quest line, is that he is not the be-all, end-all of the race.
Right. Okay.
He is by far not
He's the final boss
leader
of the game, but he's not ultimately the most important character in the universe just because he's the end of your story. Is that what you mean?
Right.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah. And they do some other fun stuff where you discover that this... Because, there's so much of Andromeda that does borrow heavily from the other Mass Effect games, and it's another valid criticism. So much down, there's Forerunner technology.
Right.
The stuff called the Remnant. It's from this ancient race that no one knows what happened. But along the way, you discover that one, these Forerunners are called the Jardine, and two, they actually have a hand in creating a lot of the life in Andromeda. But one of their enemies created a weapon that kind of wiped them out. So it really sets up a really interesting thing, because when you show up in Andromeda, you're the outsider, right?
Right.
And you kind of stumble on this long-standing conflict between not only the Cadotte and the races that were already in Andromeda, but also this ancient feud between this unnamed force and these Forerunners that came before you. And you actually end up utilizing the last bits of that ancient war to help you out in your current conflict. It's kind of cool. And no, it's Andromeda is a solid stepping stone to what I'm assuming is going to be its own trilogy or more.
Well,
there's a lot of good groundwork set up, and unfortunately, it's just a case of the tech issues are going to constantly overshadow anything else about the game.
See, what I reckon is they should just put that in universe and be like, the most strange thing about our mission here is the strange nebula that is affecting our bones.
Facial structure.
And facial and timing. Just roll with it. I think they should just double down.
Blink.
You know how they just doubled down on the Mass Effect 3 ending, you know? And just, like, they...
Right.
I think they should just double down, and Andromeda 2 should just have, like, facial expressions that are like, Looney Tunes cartoons playing backwards. You know? Just craziness. I would love it.
But just to address some things that I've heard other critics say about it, and I disagree. I'm not saying they're wrong, because it's entirely a subjective thing. But there's been a lot of talk about how the supporting cast in the game is really boring.
Right.
And I can't agree with it. The difference is the biggest issue facing Andromeda is that everyone is still comparing it to the first three.
Right.
And they all tend to forget that the first three games had the benefit of having the same cast over 3 games.
Yeah. And the supporting characters in 1 weren't that interesting. Like, this is people who loved Joker, you know? He wasn't that interesting.
Right. Yeah, because if you think about your supporting cast in Mass Effect 1, right? You had Garrus, hardened soldier from the Turians, right? Just all-around badass. You had Cadotte, hardened soldier from the Alliance.
And so boring.
You know,
and what was the other one? Ashley, whichever one you chose to keep alive.
Ashley, the space racist.
2 boring, boring characters.
Really, the only interesting characters out of 1 were Tali and Grux, or Rex, excuse me, Rex.
And Rex is less interesting than the Krogan you get in 2.
Right.
Like, he's only interesting because he's a Krogan. He's not a particularly interesting Krogan.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, so all the interesting characters are... I mean, even... Like, Garrus doesn't get interesting until 3. You know?
I like Garrus in 2, I think.
Yeah, no, Garrus is cool in 2, but, like, his actual, like, story doesn't actually get interesting until 3, I think.
I like, in 2, I like his role as one of the only people
Archangel.
to return from the first mission.
Yeah.
I like his role in the story as that guy. Because who else? I think Tali's in 2, yeah?
Yeah, Tali's in 2.
Who else is in 2 from the first one?
Well, Joker.
Yeah.
No, 2 is all new characters.
You can meet, God, what's her name? Lyra? What was the name of the Asari that you travel with in 1? I always forget her name.
Liara.
Liara. You could meet her in the Shadow Broker DLC.
Mm-hmm.
And do a
and
mission
you can use
with
her
her.
in the Shadow Broker DLC.
But then she didn't get to join you. She stays as the new Shadow Broker.
Yep.
I think.
She doesn't come back until 3. But,
Makes sense.
So, you gotta give some of these characters time.
Right.
And for all intents and purposes, I think they actually do a pretty good job with the new characters, because they don't just throw it out at you, right? It's like the interesting characters in the first Mass Effect were interesting from the get-go, because of how they were designed. They were designed to be nothing really hidden about them. It was Tali, a lost Quarian, their race, can't live outside those suits, and that race is interesting because of they're the reason the Geth are around.
Right.
Everything interesting about Tali is like right up front on her sleeve. But with these characters, you actually have to do some digging to find out what they're interesting. And it's not just like the loyalty missions either. You can find people that know them, like around space stations and stuff. And if you talk to them, you learn more about these characters. And you actually have to put in a little work to dig. Because it's not like, if you're gonna say anything about Andromeda, I think they do personal interactions way better than the original 3 Mass Effects. Because you never have a character who's like, oh hey, I joined up with your team, how's it going? Here's my deepest, darkest secrets.
Right.
You actually have to work to get these people to open up to you.
Right, like, often, even 2, which is way better than 1 for that, gets this wrong quite often. Like, my favorite example was, like, Miranda, who, was supposedly this really hard, closed-off character, and is, like, the easiest romance option in the game.
Oh, and not only that, she was designed to be, like, your handler.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Whereas the other guy, the friendly, subordinate black guy, is a pain in the ass to please.
Yeah.
And to work around, and to...
Mm-hmm. No, tech issues aside, and I'm not going to ignore the tech issues, because I have experienced the worst of the tech issues in Andromeda, and some stuff that is frankly unforgivable. It's I've had missions where I had to reload saves because for some reason scripting just wasn't triggering, and so I'd be like stuck in a room.
That's always bad. It's one of the worst things in the world, because you always have to think, have I screwed up? How long do I wait before trying to figure out if I've screwed up or if the game screwed up? Yeah, I hate that.
I've had that happen. I've had scripting screw up because I okay, so the one I think about, there's this really minor side mission where you kind of uncover this meteorite on a planet, and for some reason the meteorite is making all the wildlife act weird around it.
Right.
And so when you go to it, it triggers this thing where all these animals start rushing you. Well, while they rush you, you have to still try to scan this meteorite. To find the frequency that it's putting off and all this sort of weird shit. And, well, my teammates were actually doing a really good job holding off the animal. So I just stood there and scanned it, and I was able to scan it without having to kill a single one of these animals. So it triggers this little cutscene where you're standing there and you're talking with your AI and everything. Well, the animals were still all around me, hitting me during the cutscene, and the screen is going black and white to let me know that I'm near death. I'm like, can we speed this up a little bit, because apparently I'm dying.
It's bad. I've actually just had to give up on a mission on a Let's Play I'm doing on an Assassin's Creed game because it wants me to place a barrel under a tower and blow it up to make a distraction. And blowing up the barrel under the tower will not trigger the tower blowing up.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's really annoying me. But sorry, continue.
Oh, I mean, there's not much to say.
You'll find a way.
Trying not to get too much into spoilers, I kind of have a minor gripe about the ending. And it's... My only explanation for this is it's continued blowback from the 3 ending.
I thought you were going to say from the cum shot then.
Yeah, man, that fucking Bukkake DLC, Jesus, just everywhere. But no, because the ending is kind of set up as you're doing it. It's clear that it's like trying to maybe set up like a decision that at the very end you have to make a decision, right? Well, like all the other Mass Effects, one you had to choose either Caden or Ashley, which one was going to die.
I'd have killed them both if I could.
Right. Two, it's more of a case of, did you do enough, fast enough, to get everyone to be loyal to you, and did you make the right decisions about who does what during the suicide mission, right? And three, is the big climactic, do you kill all the synthetics? Do you merge? Do you let the Reapers go? That sort of thing. And it definitely feels like in this one they're leading up to a decision, a particularly tough one. I'm like, oh man, I can't believe they're going to make me do this. No, at the very end, no, it's all good. Everyone's happy. It's like the biggest sugar-coated happy ending you could possibly fucking imagine.
I would have loved it if you go right to the end. You walk into like the room to trigger the final event, and it'd just run exactly frame for frame the Mass Effect 3 ending again. That would have made my day. And then afterwards, it just said in big letters, "It's the journey that matters, not the ending. So here's Mass Effect 3's again." And then instead of credits, it just makes you play through the third one again. The third ending.
It just cuts to a big vid screen with BioWare developers just flipping you off. Just...
Yeah.
But yeah, that was... I don't know. There's some extra thoughts on Andromeda. There's some other stuff I'd like to talk about Andromeda, but I think I might try to do that. I've been thinking about maybe doing a biscuit bite of it.
Fair enough. Does Gene Roddenberry make an appearance at any point? Sorry, I made that joke last week, didn't I?
Yes.
Kevin Sorbo?
No.
Kevin Sorbe makes no appearance.
There are some actually kind of funny references that get made if you pay attention to like the background banter. My particular favorite is after the final mission, you're walking around this little space station. You can hear this one guy go, like, "Man, all these planets have been given to us. I'm gonna tap landings on all of them." Which, if you don't know, is a reference to 2010 Space Odyssey, where it's all these planets are given to you to use in peace and unity, except the third moon of Jupiter. Attempt no landing there. That's the line. But
do you know? I really like 2010. I like 2010 more than 2001. To be honest,
a lot of people do. It just doesn't have the same. I think science fiction fans generally like 2010 more than 2001. Film snobs and critics like 2001
right
more than 2010.
I'm just not a big fan of Kubrick, to be honest.
No, me neither. I think he's a prick.
I like The Shining, although I think the way he treated Shelley Duvall to make The Shining was not justifiable,
No.
Aside from anything, it's a shit performance anyway. Like if you were to mistreat someone to get a good performance and the performance they handed in was that bad, like that's not a great credit for your method. But I hate that anyway.
Right.
Like the story of Alfred Hitchcock placing fake corpses in, I forget the actress's name who played Marion Crane in Psycho. You know the story.
Jamie Lee Curtis's mom.
Yeah, to try and get the best
Janet
scream.
Leigh.
Janet Leigh, that's it. I always hate stories like that because I don't think that's... it's always women actresses aside from anything,
Mm-hmm.
And I think it comes from somewhere else, really.
The only time one of those things happened, and it's even pretty minor compared to those other ones that I really appreciated was Alfred Hitchcock during the filming of Rear Window. There's a pair of really minor characters who are a couple who always sleeps out on their fire escape because it's so hot in the apartment. And at one point in the movie, it starts to rain, and these characters are supposed to like struggle to try to like get their mattress and shit up and back into the apartment. And the way they actually made it look realistic is each one had like a transmitter in their ear that they were supposed to be receiving instructions. In fact, that's how they did most of the extras that are in the opposing apartment building.
Right.
There was never really any face-to-face directing. They would just tell them through transmitters like what to do.
Makes sense.
And that's how you got the effect of everyone moving around at the same time, doing their own thing. But in that particular scene, they purposely started sending them conflicting instructions. So they're like telling the guy to pull the mattress left, and they're telling her to pull it right, and telling them both like, okay, now you go through the window, but they're telling them both to go through the window at the same time.
Right.
So they're basically fighting with each other.
But that's just coordination to look uncoordinated, you know? Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I agree. That's a good example of something good like that. But what was I talking about? I forgot. It wasn't Hitchcock. Kubrick. Shelley Duvall Kubrick. I'm not a Kubrick fan at the best of times. I like The Shining, and I think Dr. Strangelove starts off funny and overplays the joke a little bit.
Yeah.
That's about it. Like, what else did Kubrick do?
Eyes Wide Shut.
Which is a piece of shit.
I remember there are stories about that Eyes Wide Shut about... I mean, yeah, Tom Cruise is a lunatic to begin with. And it was very possible that his marriage to Nicole Kidman was going to end on its own regardless. But there's a lot of reports saying that Kubrick really played into their real life marriage issues to try to get that feeling of an alienated couple.
I don't know. I suppose when you're some of my age and you see Eyes Wide Shut, it gets filed away under those films. One of those films is like not as pornographic as you hoped it would be, you know?
Right. I remember when I was a kid and that movie came out, I made every attempt to see that movie, and I was super excited. I'm like, oh my god, I finally... And I remember getting to the end of it, I'm like,
Right. Because if you were to start taking advantage of the material, you're never that far away between something very weird. You know?
Right. Where, yeah, you know, basically, if you want to try to jerk it to Eyes Wide Shut, you better have your eyes wide shut. You're going to feel really, really ashamed of yourself.
It's a very strange... Right, but when you're at that age, you're like, okay, I have heard this contains a fraction of nudity. Let's do this.
And then it's like, oh, animals.
Right. Or the accused.
Right. Is she dead? I think she might be dead.
Yeah, it's you have to be careful.
Yeah. But we didn't want to talk about Eyes Wide
Shut. For your future sanity. Yeah, Kubrick. Yeah, we want to talk about movie trailers. You said movie. You promised me some movie trailer talk, John.
Movie trailers.
Let's start with let's go, in my opinion, worst to best trailer. Which would you put at the least promising?
The least promising. Thor?
I'd still put Justice League right at the fucking bottom.
Oh, I know you would. 'Cause you're a bad person.
Alright. I just wanted to tease you with that. Let's do Thor first, because that came out today. Movie trailers. The Thor trailer came out today.
Yeah.
It had that song in it. Ooga chaka, ooga, ooga, ooga. Oh, sorry. It was
Yeah,
that one.
Winter Song.
Immigrant song, isn't it?
Immigrant song, excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I come from the land of the ice and snow, the wind and house and
Robert Plant. That's how it goes, right?
Robert Plant. Robert Plant.
Jimmy Page. Jimmy Page.
Robert Plant. Robert Plant. Robert Plant. Plant. Plant.
Jimmy Page. Jimmy Page.
Keith Moon. Wait, wrong band. Wrong band.
Yeah, but Keith, he just.
With the Who, right?
Yes.
I'm not crazy. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm thinking of like, excuse me, I got it wrong. John Bonham. Yeah, he was. God, what am I messing up? John Bonham. He was the drummer for Led Zeppelin.
Fair enough. Oh, do you know what I was thinking of for a second? I was thinking of Bon Scott. I was like, no, okay. No. We're doing well. We're just doing the tour right now. It's bands with dead members for $100, please.
Right. Yeah, dead drummers specifically.
Keith Moon and that guy from Def Leppard's arm.
Keith Moon using the arm. Just
He would
holding it
as well.
like a really big drumstick. Just...
If he could, he would.
No, Thor.
I will
It
say.
came out.
I will say this. I thought the trailer looked fun and crazy. It's obviously going to be an action movie. I think they wanted to look high octane action.
Right.
I think. But my instant reaction was, this looks like they're trying to move the tone of those films closer to Guardians of the Galaxy. That was what I thought. That's what I took away from it.
I got this really weird disconnect between like the imagery of the movie.
Right.
Because the trailers, it's Led Zeppelin, it's this crazy over the top rock and roll. They're showing jokes between Thor and Hulk at the end.
I actually have a minor
Spoilers.
issue with that. As funny as it is, I have a minor issue with that. That's in the Thor movies and Thor in these films, right? That's the kind of line they make Thor say when he's out of his element and he uses like the wrong words when he's on Earth, right? He's trying to relate to Earth people. This is presumably supposed to be him more in his domain a little bit, talking to people that he's not the fish out of water in this trailer that he normally is. It feels.
I think he is. Because they send him to a different planet.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah. I can live with that. Do you know what I mean, though?
But...
It feels like it's the kind of thing. Although maybe they're supposed to suggest that he's been on Earth for a long time and he's coming back more human than Asgardian in tone.
Right.
But that works, I guess.
So my issue is like, I feel like the writers and the directors and the cinematographers of this movie all just got trashed one night and watched Guardians of the Galaxy and then 300.
You know what it reminds me of? Do you remember in the early 2000s when Warhammer 40k got a lot of weird new races? It looks like that. It looks like the promotional material for that. The Tau and the what were they called? The Eldred, and you remember? That period.
Oh,
it feels a lot like that.
Like I understand that it is kind of similar to comic books, like the look of it.
Yeah.
But like the fucking weird antler headdress thing that Hela is wearing.
There is a lot to unpick in that trailer. Aside from anything, from what I can tell, the plot is Asgard just gets fucking destroyed, and Thor is a prisoner, and it looks like it's going to be a big fantasy war movie, right?
Although there was one bit that made me really smile at, and if you by any chance watching Twitter, you saw that I'm not alone in this. There's a brief scene of a guy holding 2 M16 machine guns, just plowing down demons, right?
Yep.
That is straight from a comic book. That guy, his name is the Executioner. And he was actually a Thor villain. And during a comic book run, Thor and this guy and a few other people find themselves in hell, essentially. And they're leaving and they're running, and they realize they're not going to make it. And this Executioner guy uses 2 mystical M16s to hold back the hordes as like a last stand while the other ones escape.
It was a nice touch.
Yeah, and it has some of the best lines in a comic book. I wish I remember the monologue by heart, but it basically ends with like no songs were sung about his last stand. All that needs to be said is that he stood alone at Jalabruar. And it's a cool ass moment in the comic books. It's really cool.
It's clear they want to step up their game, and they've accompanied that with a tonal shift. Now, we were talking about this earlier. You still haven't seen Thor 2, you were saying, and I would recommend seeing Thor 2 just out of interest, because honestly, Thor 2, it's not a bad film, but it feels very much like, well, we needed a sequel to Thor, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The film doesn't feel special in any way. It's okay. It's not bad. It's okay. It just is what it is. And like, I can see how people divide opinion on the first Thor film. Like, I know you don't like it that much. I like it.
No.
That's just, it's a difference of opinion. Fair enough. Thor 2, I think most people were pretty much the same on it, which was, there were good moments, and it didn't really come to much, It feels like they want this to be the film that makes people go, fuck yeah, I want to go see Thor. Because they've never had that from people, really, for Thor. It hasn't been the franchise that makes people go, come on, Thor! But that's come with a tonal shift. Like, did you notice it began with a reference to that record scratch meme?
Mm-hmm.
That's not the sense of humor I associate with a Marvel film, really. Except maybe Guardians of the Galaxy. And it's so clearly trying to evoke that with the pop music and the titles that look like the titles to a Def Leppard album.
Yeah, and like I'm really curious about this phase of Marvel, because it's been very weird. Specifically, they're trying to evoke decades.
Yeah.
Like Guardians of the Galaxy is clearly a 70s sort of thing.
Well, that went well for it went well for Fox with Days of Future Past, and they tried to do it again with Apocalypse, and honestly, that doesn't go very well. So I wonder if it was an attempt to evoke Days of Future Past's success like that.
So okay, but if you think about this, right, you had Guardians of the Galaxy, which had full of 70s soundtrack. Even kind of the look of things is very 70s sci-fi, where the heavy metal.
It's around that time,
to kind of
because if you look before that, the tone established with Iron Man was even almost the present day realism, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it starts to change a little bit with, say, Thor itself, which, when you get to Asgard, has a kind of Shakespearean quality to it, a little bit, but it doesn't evoke a period in the comics particularly. And you're right, it's Guardians of the Galaxy, which is... It is kind of a Jack Kirby, Stanley 1970s space era comic strip.
Right.
Movie. And then you've got Ant-Man, which is very evocative of 1960s Hank Pym comics.
Yep. Doctor Strange, which also kind of ties into that 60s, 70s psychedelic.
Yeah. Well, Doctor Strange actually feels very 1950s to me in the way it has that story of going away to the East and coming back with... Like, there are times when the Doctor Strange film is very evocative of, like, The Shadow.
Yeah. Like, the one that's kind of sticking out to me right now, oddly enough, is actually Spider-Man. Because maybe not so much in the film, but like in a lot of promotional stuff, like that Homecoming font. That's 90s. That's straight 90s.
Which is interesting because
graffiti marker sort of look. Like
right, and it's interesting because
you see that logo scribbled on someone's Trapper Keeper.
The Sam Raimi film, that is so true to Spider-Man from the 1960s. It's unreal. And then the Amazing Spider-Man films, they don't feel like any Spider-Man comic ever, to me.
Right.
They just don't feel like Spider-Man, despite having Spider-Man in. And a good Spider-Man. Tom Holland was okay. Was it Tom Holland? No, Tom Holland's the new one.
No, that was...
what was he called?
Garfield.
Which it was.
Mondays. Andrew Garfield.
Andrew Garfield. He wasn't a bad Spider-Man. He just wasn't in a good Spider-Man film, I don't think. Because, like, the thing that really screwed up Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 is that even though it was a reboot, they didn't want to have villains they'd used before. So they kicked off their brave new franchise with The Lizard! And then Electro.
I mean, we'll get to it, but look at this current Spider-Man.
Right.
The Vulture.
But they've done something very interesting with him that I do want to talk about. So, Thor Ragnarok, I don't know. There is one thing I want to talk about a lot with this. Do you think that... We knew Hulk was in this movie. We knew he was going to be in for a while. And a lot of people have been asking for a Planet Hulk movie. Marvel don't want to make a Hulk movie because they don't do well. They've tried it twice, and they've been consistently like the worst performing movies. And I think Universal still has distribution rights as well, so they let them make Incredible Hulk, but I don't think they get as big a cut from the money as well. So it doesn't do well, and they don't get as much as they would make from it. This, to me, suggested that what we're going to get is Planet Hulk as a subplot of this movie.
Right.
Because that's
kind of
that's Planet Hulk, right? That's Hulk abducted and in an arena forced to fight. That's not going to be a different plot, you know?
Right. And like Planet Hulk was actually pretty cool because like he starts a rebellion. He's become Spartacus. Right. But it also takes place. It also takes place in an era where the Hulk can think, talk, and emote if he needs to in the comics. Right. Like in that Planet Hulk in the comics, you actually see him as Banner, but in that Planet Hulk animated movie, they don't even include Bruce Banner in the film at any point. I don't even think anybody even refers to him as Bruce. He's that irrelevant to that Planet Hulk story. Mm-hmm. What I want to know, are we getting Beta Ray Bill?
Well, I'd love to see Beta Ray Bill. And I keep thinking that they've been hinting at it because they liked... But I mean, I know it's part of the character to talk about the hammer only belonging to Thor. but they do keep teasing people almost picking it up and things like that, you know?
Well, in the trailer you see it get destroyed.
Yeah, we do, which raises the question of how he's going to get it back, and yeah. I'd love to see Beta Ray Bill, but only if they did him properly. Like, he has to look fucking hideous, you know?
Right.
He has to look like a horse skeleton.
I want to see Frog Thor someday.
Yeah. I always liked the Beta Ray Bill character. I liked the idea that Thor's powers are imbued in the hammer to whoever's worthy of them. There's no reason to believe that that's just that one guy, you know?
Right.
Why wouldn't it just be a guy from another planet who looks like an alien? I'd like that.
Yeah.
Anything else to say about Thor Ragnarok? Loki's in it?
No, Huh?
Loki is in it. We knew he would be, but he...
Loki, Idris Elba's character's in it.
Yeah, Heimdall. Did Anthony Hopkins die in the last one? I know his mother did. Did Odin die? Oh, I'm sorry, you haven't seen the last one. I spoiled this for you. I do apologize.
No, it's fine. I don't know. I'm hoping to see the 3 again. The Warriors 3.
I've heard what the opening scene to Thor Ragnarok's actually going to be. I believe it's Natalie Portman raising the middle finger on a motorbike, riding off into the sunset at 80 miles an hour.
Holding her Oscar
right.
from Black Swan.
Yeah. She uses it to tear a hole in the celluloid and ride the bike through.
I'm a real actress, bitches.
Yeah. And then you just see George Lucas going, and like, but Natalie, no!
I've made too many bad decisions.
Have you ever heard about
no more?
You ever heard about Terrence Stamp? You remember how he's in episode 1? As
no.
High Chancellor Valorum, you know. Remember Star Wars Episode 1?
Okay.
He was the Chancellor who they passed a vote of no confidence, right, in the the Senate where everyone was sat on frisbees. He told us.
To me.
Someone asked him about his time on Episode 1 and what attracted him to the role, and he said, well, I'd seen films like Leon, the Professional, and I'd seen this young actress, Natalie Portman, who was this rising star, and I really wanted to work with her. I was really just looking forward to working with her. I wanted to meet her, and I thought it would be great. It's like, and then I got there on the day of the filming for my first scene, and I said, but what's going on? Where's Natalie? And they said, see that tennis ball? That's Natalie. And it was the most heartbreaking day of my career. Well, at that point, did George
terrible.
usher in a little brass band to just go wah wah wah? Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
Little do we know, there's been a long-standing hatred for this actor by George Lucas, and no one knew why.
Right, we've got Marlon Brando back from the dead, and that's the basketball. Talk to Marlon.
Yeah, they have to use a basketball for Marlon.
And Orson Welles.
You see that bowling ball with the lines taped to its stomach? Yeah.
And what is that? What is that giant globe that looks like it's from Epcot? And they're like, that's Orson Welles. Just. Do you understand?
And what's with the giant yoga ball over there? Oh, that's John Popper. We don't know why, but he's in it. He's in the movie.
Yeah. So, anything else about Thor Ragnarok you want to comment? Oh, sorry.
What's your thoughts on the matter, Ambassador Popper? I woke last night, midnight dreary, something in my head. I couldn't escape this memory. Don't call it what she said.
So anything else about Thor Ragnarok you want to add to that?
What does this have to do with the trade negotiations? Like a game to a contestant with a party and gift. I cannot believe my eyes. See, he likes it.
Come. You happy?
Sorry, John Popper in the Star Wars universe is really funny to me now.
And nobody else.
See here, no, I got really nothing else to say about Thor. So,
What next? What should we
I
talk?
will move to the trailer that I think is second
Okay.
in these three, and it's Justice League.
Okay. Ben Affleck was blinking, "Somebody save me," on at least 3 of these shots, I'm sure. I've never seen a man who so obviously wanted out of a franchise so soon. He just to cover this, he said that he wanted to direct the next Batman film. Someone asked him about it, and he said he would love to direct it so long as it had a great script. A good script, not even great, a good script. And then the next news we got was that he didn't want to direct it anymore, and he would like to be released from playing Batman in any more films. And when you see this trailer with that context, you've got to wonder, is it the death of his parents that's haunting Bruce, or the death of Ben Affleck's career rotting away in front of him that's providing that haunting gleam in his eyes?
You know, here's the thing about that whole situation.
It's funny.
Oh, it's funny. Absolutely. But if Justice League turns out to be good, you want to know how quickly he about faces about all that? Like, if it turns out that Justice League turns great and the critics love it and fans are clamoring for more and everything like that, and he's getting accolades for putting in an amazing performance as Batman, and you want to see how quickly he goes, "Oh, I've always been on board with the DC vision. Yeah, we had some stumbling blocks here and there, but no, I think we're really onto something great." He's being fickle. It's...
Oh, sure. Because he's a major Hollywood actor and trapped in a floundering franchise. But...
Floundering. They still made a shit ton of money. Give me a break.
Okay. Fair enough. That's a good response. I think this trailer looks to be the strongest, the strongest so far, on the grounds that the biggest
I
issue
still think
with
Wonder Woman looks good.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I always forget one. That one does look like it's going to be very good. But this one's next. I'm just meaning to the ones that are out so far.
Right. Well, Wonder Woman's next.
Is Wonder Woman next? Why do I keep thinking Justice League's
that comes
next?
out in very soon, actually.
I've been letting the
months.
DC stuff slip off my radar a little bit much because I haven't enjoyed it that much. But yes, the trailer for Wonder Woman's amazing. I'm really looking forward to that one. So the big criticism of the DC universe so far has been that the plotting hasn't been amazing, but mostly that they just haven't been that fun, you know?
Mm-hmm.
This looks fun. You've got nice characters in there. Like, Barry Allen seems to be a breath of fresh air. He's tough and moody, but the character seems fun of Aquaman.
Yeah.
Who else we got? Cyborg.
Yeah, Cyborg.
The character of Cyborg is not interesting to me anyway. The character hasn't been introduced prior to this. Neither's Aquaman, but we could just pretend it's the same character from Stargate Atlantis, and that'll be fine.
Oh, just real quick. Wonder Woman is June 2nd.
Okay. Well, that's good. If that's good, it might spell a good sign for this one. Is Wonder Woman going to be... Do you reckon that one's going to be not really connected to... Like, do you think that the sequel to Batman vs. Superman is going to be Justice League, and the Wonder Woman movie is just going to tell the past story and not really factor into that too much?
I think I can see it... Okay.
I can see it opening in modern time with Bruce and Diana sitting in the Batcave or whatever,
Let me tell you a story.
talking
Bruce gets his little slippers on.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they're talking about like, oh, we have to get a hold of the Unite the Seven or whatever, and then he picks up the picture. He's like, "You want to explain this to me?"
I hope they do the Highlander pan. Like the camera pans down and then all of a sudden you're in Highland Scotland. Wonder Woman does look good. This trailer does. The problem with this is,
excuse me,
you've got a lot of characters in this film, and they're gonna have their cool moments. This is a hard film to make a bad trailer for, so it's really hard to judge how the film's gonna be from this.
Right.
To be perfectly honest, it's got the moments you want to see. My worry is that when the actual film comes out, moments like, Bruce threw the Batarang at the Flash and he slow motion looked at it, are going to be kind of the best moments in the film. And that the rest will be basically Batman versus Superman. Because the thing is, there were 3 superheroes in that one.
Right.
It could just be very similar to that film.
So there's been talk about, because you see him like fighting parademons like crazy, and they already said that like the bad guy is supposed to be Steppenwolf, not a really well-known villain.
I hope it's the band Steppenwolf, not the.
It's that scene where Aquaman's riding on the top of the Batmobile, and it's like, "Go get him." I like to dream.
Right between my sound machine. Aquaman comes out of the water. Born to be wild. No, I love that.
Speaking of licensed music,
we got some more of that. This is becoming very popular, isn't it? As a
right. God, how much did they fucking spend to get that one?
Do you know? And I would have been optimistic about that if it wasn't for the fact that Suicide Squad made me hate films doing this. Because Suicide Squad did it more badly than until I saw Suicide Squad, I would never ever believe that hearing songs I like could make me go, oh fuck. Because every time it happened in Suicide Squad, you were like, oh, it's this one. And if someone had handed me a sheet and said, hey, the scene goes like this, I want you to think of the most obvious, hackneyed pop music choice for a song you could put in here you can think of, I couldn't have come up with more hackneyed choices than the ones they used. And so I love Guardians of the Galaxy. I really do. And Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is going to do this, and I'm going to allow them to do it because Guardians 1 did it, and nothing could spoil my love for this. But for everybody else, I could happily go without seeing this ever done again. Really.
Well, it's all about choice, right?
It is, absolutely. And what we've proven is that you and I understand this more than people making films.
Because the problem with like Suicide Squad is it's not the use of licensed music; it's the ones they use. Because it's either super obvious, oh, we're going to a prison, so we're going to play House of the Rising Sun. But then there's also ones that are just completely inexplicable, like Bohemian Rhapsody.
Well, I think the logic for that is, hey, this is a song they will know. And they like it, therefore they will, by extension, think the film is good.
But it has no...
Right. Right, they should have just used All Star from...
But, but the thing is, in Guardians of the Galaxy, you had, songs that, while being well known, aren't that well known, right?
There's also a
Everyone
certain
knows Bohemian.
there's also a certain
Everyone knows Bohemian
incorporation
Rhapsody.
in,
Right?
in
No
Guardians.
one knows. What's that?
We are really, really trying not to talk over each other and making it worse right now. There's a certain incorporation in Guardians of the Galaxy as well. He gets given the tape, and it's a tape of songs from his era that his mum likes, right? And then the songs that you hear, there are some big ones on there. I think but even the Jackson 5 one is not the famous Jackson 5 one that sounds like that.
Right.
You know, because Jackson 5 have one song with different lyrics, you know?
Yeah.
It's not even the most well... It's not ABC, you know? And like, what would you say is the
was it
most...
Give Me Another Chance?
Sorry?
Which one was it? Was it Give Me Another Chance?
What's it called? I Want You Back? No, that's...
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, what's it called? Anyway.
Is it ooh, babe, give me one more chance.
Yeah, I don't know which one. It's that one. What would you say is the most famous song then? Like, I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
Probably Hooked on a Feeling.
Yeah.
But they also have stuff like
the Pina
Red
Colada
Bone,
song.
Come and Get Your Love. You know?
Right, and the most famous ones, they tend to be used in the scenes that actually subvert the music, right? So the Pina Colada song is in the scene where the guy's listening to his tape recorder and it's supposed to be a comedy scene.
Yeah.
It's so much thought went into that film about where those songs were going to be used.
Right.
And the in Suicide Squad, they just went, "This is my mum's iPod. Shuffle. What's our next song?"
But yeah, back to the Justice League. The song that they use is "Come Together," but not the Beatles version. It's some rock metal version of it.
They should have had the Michael Jackson version. Bam, bam, baby, bing. Yeah, which they do often, because actually the Thor Ragnarok version of the Immigrant Song wasn't actually the Zeppelin version either. I don't think it might have been the vocals, but it wasn't the guitar from that version. They do that a lot. I guess I think they probably have more rights to usage that way.
Probably.
Because nobody has to give permission for a song, but no one can stop you covering one. I bet Paul McCartney was just like, "No, Man of Steel was shit. You can't have it." I think that one was Lennon, actually, but they share credits.
Right. Speaking of Paul McCartney, this real quick tangent. I was watching a documentary the other day about Sound City, the studio. And because apparently Dave Grohl has made a big push to get it like reopened and use it again, because I guess the special thing about Sound City is it has this board where only like 4 of them were ever made, and it's like the most sophisticated production board for reel-to-reel recording ever.
Wouldn't it be great if you got it reopened and got it, then it was like, I just don't like using this.
But so I guess they reopened it, and he put this album together where it had all these people on it that were. It's a Foo Fighter album, but it features all these other people who were prominent members from the Sound City. Has what's her name? I can't stand her. It's Stevie Nicks. Stevie Nicks is on it.
Oh, poor
Rick
Stevie.
Springfield.
What did she ever do to you?
I hate Stevie Nicks.
Just at the
That's what she did to me. She fucking made songs that I had to hear all the damn time. But anyways, Paul McCartney is on one of the albums or is on a track.
I'm surprised he didn't get to the door and they were like, "Oh, it's Paul McCartney. What have you been working on?" And he showed him that song from Destiny, and they were like, "You're gonna have to leave, sir. You're gonna have to move on."
Well, the song that it's him singing a Foo Fighters song that they feature. Like, I mean, not like a well-known one, but it sounds like a Foo Fighters song sung by Paul McCartney. It does not fit.
It's more like more like the Destiny song than we thought then.
Yeah. But the funny thing about it is that they have video clips from them in the studio, and Paul while they're showing these videos, you hear Paul McCartney make perhaps one of the most arrogant fucking comments I've ever heard in my life. Right? So they show them laying down the track, and they finish up, and Dave Grohl comes into the studio, and he's like, "Oh man, that was great. We really nailed it. I wish it could be easy like that all the time." And Paul McCartney goes, "It is." It's like, wow. Fuck you, Paul McCartney. Like,
there was his vengeance though, because they wouldn't let him sing "Cold Day in the Sun."
Well, from what I understand about the Beatles is, their early days they played every single night. Like, there was not a night where they weren't playing somewhere.
Yeah, when they stopped touring, it really hit Paul hard. He liked touring. Nobody else did.
Yeah. But even like before they were discovered, they were playing clubs like every single night.
Yeah.
And for all intents and purposes, the Beatles became incredibly good at their instruments. And what they did. So, from what I understand, is like the Beatles,
the world's most successful rock band, knew how to play their instruments. Forsooth.
Hey, the Monkees were very popular too, and they did not know how to play their instruments right off the bat.
They knew how to play the instruments that mattered. Those toothpaste smiles and boyish good looks.
But apparently the Beatles had, compared to all the other bands of the generation, like super straightforward, like easygoing times in the studio. There was never times like, oh, well, we locked ourselves in this chateau in France for 3 months trying to record this album. It's like, no, we're going to make an album 1 week later. It's like, oh, here's Rubber Soul.
I do always like that their later albums were almost totally non-collaborative at all. You're just listening to solo albums on the same disc. To the point where they hated each other's music.
But yeah, so Justice League, yeah, I mean, it just looks fun right now.
Yeah.
It looks, it just looks like it's going to be a good time. Who knows what they fill in.
It's on to a disadvantage right from the bat, in my opinion, because it is now, it's going to be the fourth entry into, no, fifth. It's going to be the fifth entry into this franchise. It's supposed to be the one where you get the payoff, and 3 of the 4 preceding films have not been very well received and haven't been great at laying this foundation, all in all.
Right.
So it could be good and it could be fun, and I'm gonna watch it and I'm gonna give it its chance, but it's not going to be it's not going to be what it wants to be, even if it's better than Batman vs Superman and Suicide Squad. Do you know what I mean? It's really, the problem is every time they get this wrong, the next film starts another 10 meters down the track,
Right.
But I will say, so far at the moment, it's looking good. But I thought Suicide Squad was looking good as well. So it's very hard for me to be optimistic. I keep going, well, this looks better, and then being like, okay. That was shit again.
Yeah.
But it looks like Batman's very heavy in this one. I like Ben Affleck's Batman, all things considered.
Martha.
That was my favorite bit in Batman vs Superman. Just that they were just like, what if Batman wasn't even remotely connected to sanity? We should just make that film. And I was like, yeah, let's do that. I got involved with that. Did you see that picture that's going around, though? Oh, sorry, I went right into a run-on sentence there. Carry on. You.
Well, speaking of DC and Bat Family, Joss Whedon, right?
Yeah, Joss Whedon's making a Batgirl film.
Yeah, and they have announced a Nightwing movie. It sounds like they're really trying to transition DC over to like a Batverse.
I like that they were like, let's just get the guy who orchestrated the Avengers.
Yeah.
Let's just pay him a bunch of money to do it.
It's like, I heard he did not exactly leave on good terms.
It's just, yes.
Maybe he's willing to give it a shot. I read this Entertainment Weekly article. I think we have a shot.
Yeah, I'll watch a Joss Whedon Batgirl film because that'll be good. It will be a good film, you know. Joss Whedon doesn't make bad films.
I am going to go on a limb and say Age of Ultron was terrible.
That's true. But then he left on bad terms shortly afterwards. So,
right.
In his defense, he might not have had a lot to do with that. But you're right. That's true. I don't mind Age of Ultron. For me, like, I'm at the point where the Marvel Cinematic Universe feels more like a TV show than a series of movies to me at this point.
Kind of, yeah.
A little bit. So, like, I know a lot of people, like Beth, for example, she really likes the first Iron Man. She thinks Iron Man 2 is really disappointing, so she didn't ever want to watch Iron Man 2. And I'm like, no, this is just the episode afterwards where they try and figure stuff out a little bit, you know? Mm-hmm. I can watch them through, even the bad ones, but, no, I know what you mean. I don't know. I'll say this. I think Cyborg looks terrible, just as a visual effect. And I'm not...
I actually I like the effect of him flying up through the clouds. I thought that actually looked pretty cool.
I'm not the type of person to be like, oh, the quality of the CGI defines how good a film is. I just feel like there were better ways of doing that. You know? Like, okay, I know it's totally different, right? But RoboCop came out in the 80s and looks better than Cyborg looks in this film. And, alright, he had the movement
I'll hold off on that judgment.
Okay, and then that's fair, right? But do you know what I mean? There are other ways of doing it. But this isn't just me. Like, for me, we're coming at this with different ways. You liked Man of Steel, and I didn't. Mm-hmm. So right off the bat, one of us is coming at it from a position of, you know, sense, and the other isn't.
Right,
but one
and the
of
other
us
one's British.
One of us is also coming from a position of liking that beginning and generally liking them all more than the other. So it makes it hard for me to come in and be like, well, maybe it'll be good. My gut reaction is,
you liked Dawn of Justice way more than I did, though.
That's true. I thought Dawn of Justice was... Do you know, I don't even really know why. It might have just been that my expectations were so low. No, do you know what it was? I'm totally with... We've talked about this many times about the issues with where they've taken Batman, but I still like Batman a lot. So and that Batman felt truer to Batman than Superman felt to Superman in Man of Steel to me, I guess. Even if he was a total psycho.
I can't. I hadn't. Yeah, I don't like Batman that much in the comics, but I've enjoyed. I enjoyed the Christopher Nolan Batman. I liked all three of those films. And that
the Christopher Nolan, baby.
You sleeping?
The awful thing about those college humor videos is you can't watch those films afterwards and not hear that voice.
Oh yeah.
And I never noticed before I saw it. It's not the Grezel, it's this thing. Me. Hides behind the
He's
gun.
chewing on his tongue the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, do you know, I did...
But I found
didn't...
nothing redeeming about Batman in Dawn of Justice.
There were things I liked in Batman vs. Superman that I didn't get out of Man of Steel as well. Like, I thought the relationship between Lois and Clark was interesting. But there's a lot of stuff, like, for me... Like, Dawn of Justice does some things that I think are terrible. Like, I don't think Superman's death was handled that badly. But I think killing off Superman in the second Superman movie, after he was announced to the world 2/3 of the way through the first Superman movie, and trying to make that a big moment is a... You see it a lot, and it's... Again, it comes back to my criticism of Star Trek Into Darkness. Trying to cash in on those big moments from the comics or from existing franchises before you've earned them by establishing them. You know what I mean?
Okay, so that to me leads into kind of a rumor that's been going around, because Henry Cavill is going to be in Justice League. They've already released, or maybe not purposely, but shots of him on set wearing the black suit.
Walking around with a mustache the whole time going, "No, I'm Bach Blent, also known as Whooper Man. Who could I be?"
Yeah.
He's
been showing up.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if perhaps they are learning a bit from their mistakes. Because one of the
No, they're just
problems
making the
with-
same one again. Of
No,
trying
hear
to
me out.
Trying
Hear me
to,
out.
All
Owen.
right.
So one of the big issues with Dawn of Justice is that they revealed Doomsday like instantly.
That's true.
Like, hey, Doomsday's in this. But we've been hearing this fucking talk about Steppenwolf, right? Fucking Steppenwolf. And everyone's going, really? Steppenwolf? Like, comic fans are like, Steppenwolf? Everyone else going, who? You know?
Right.
And what I think we're going to get is a case of the big villain isn't going to be Steppenwolf. I think it's probably going to be Superman.
Fair enough.
That's my prediction.
He's just flying through buildings, breaking necks left and right.
This is fun!
Whee! And he then flies everywhere going, "Mother!" While singing the Beatles, "Mother, my dear."
Come together and snap. Right now, snap. Over snap me.
And Batman's like, "I didn't trust you last time. This time, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. Thanks!"
So
I don't know.
Yeah.
It could be good. It could be good. I will, okay. No, do you know what? I'm going to say it. Zack Snyder's directing this one. It's going to be shit. But once he's gone, maybe things will look up. What else can we say?
all right. So one last trailer.
The Spidered Man Homecoming.
Yes. The Man of Spider.
Still has that ridiculous font and title font that I thought was placeholder art and laughed out loud when I saw it was actually the title and logo they're using. I think this one looked really good, but I'm a big Spider-Man fan, so...
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing that's hard to really go in on this.
Well, this is not that developed from the last trailer we saw.
No.
It's just more scenes on the same beats.
And I think it's this was one of those. I mean, I'm not saying anything against the trailer, but I think it's one of those things where, like, when they made the first trailer, they made two, and then they just kind of held on to it.
Yeah.
And DC and Warner Brothers like, hey, check it out. it's Justice League. And Marvel was like, hey, look, it's Spider-Man.
So, do you know what I like about this one that seems interesting to me? This looks like an Iron Man movie. And I don't say that as Spider-Man is so undermined. We know Tony Stark's in it. We also know Tony Stark as Iron Man is in it. And, in fact, it pretty much gives away that Tony Stark as Iron Man plays a part in the big finale. Like, this is actually quite a... This is one of those trailers where
that's the thing. I don't think that's the finale.
Really? Fair enough.
With the boat?
Right.
Because I think that's what leads... Because there's those scenes in the trailer where he's like, give me back the suit. Right?
Okay. That makes sense. So,
and then we see.
No, you're
Spider-Man
right. He takes that other costume out, and that'll be the finale, I guess. Him being Spider-Man without Tony's help. That's going to be his arc in the film, I guess.
And this is what I meant about like feeling very 90s. That his other suit is straight up the Scarlet Spider suit.
Yeah, with a really crappy mask. It's interesting. Maybe the film will be 7 hours long and all to do with clones. That would really evoke the 90s.
And then every 1 out of 5 people got to see a different version of the movie.
Right. I want to talk about the villain, because this to me is the most interesting aspect of this film, and it's why I think it feels like an Iron Man film. Thematically, this villain is very similar to Whiplash in Iron Man 2, I think, but less personal, in that if you look at this, that Vulture suit, that's a Stark copycat suit, right? That's the type of thing they were talking about in Iron Man 2. What happens when criminals and rogue states get a hold of the technology to make robot suits to attack people, right? And there's a little bit of the Falcon in there, But there's been this ongoing plot. We saw it with the Falcon, and we see it... If you haven't seen Ant-Man, I can really recommend Ant-Man, because Ant-Man isn't about rogue companies on behalf of rogue nations trying to make powered suits to turn the tables of this new way of fighting wars, right? That's what Ant-Man's all about. This is actually along that line too, but what we've got here is the Vulture's always been pretty much a common criminal, right? I actually really love his first appearance, where he's just a guy who's built a flying suit who thinks it's funny to run around stealing from people.
Yeah.
Michael Keaton as the Vulture is much more vicious than we've really ever seen him be before. Much more angry. And passionately angry about what seems to be injustice. Do you know what I mean? He feels like the people above don't care about him.
Now, I don't know how confirmed this is, but I heard this while listening to a Kevin Smith podcast, Fat Man on Batman. And they were discussing this trailer. And Kevin starts talking about plot points that he had overheard. And from the sounds of it, it's definitely a continuation of the Stark arc about trying to get rid of this technology.
I think that comes through in the trailer.
Yeah, but it's a case where the Shocker, which is a terrible name, the Shocker,
I hope he's got that,
and I think the Tinkerer.
I hope he's got that duvet costume, the Shocker.
Because the Tinkerer is in this as well.
Oh, wow.
They were actually... They were like independent contractors, almost like Damage Control, if you remember them from the comics.
Right.
Where they were going around cleaning up the mess, and then they were getting their hands on some of this technology, and then Stark basically shut them down. So these are like 3 working class guys who saw a way to cash in on the superhero thing as being cleanup crews, essentially. But once it was discovered that they were getting their hands on some of this technology, like Stark shuts them down and puts them all out of work.
So what we've got here is someone who feels like Tony Stark is essentially hoarding technology for himself.
Right.
And that's a really interesting way to take... Because the thing about Spider-Man is, he has a lot of villains that are really famous villains in his rogues gallery. Really, really prominent members of his rogues gallery that are really low-key villains. Like, I don't think any other major superhero has as many villains that are basically just jewelry store robbers. Do you know what I mean?
Well, and that's the weird thing that's always been about Spider-Man. Incredibly popular character. They throw him in kind of like they do with like Batman and Wolverine, where they throw him onto the Fantastic Four for a while, and they throw him into these big, cosmic sort of. I shouldn't say cosmic because that actually means something in the Marvel universe.
It's accurate though.
Like
he went on
events.
He went on to the Secret Wars with the Beyonder. Like he gets involved in the cosmic events.
But at its heart, Spider-Man is a ground level, street level hero. He is, he's super strength away from Daredevil, essentially.
Right. It's the mistake they always make with Batman, where like Batman should not be on the Justice League. The Justice League shouldn't even know he exists. But the character is so famous in the real world, he has to be famous among superheroes in the DC Comics world. But with Spider-Man, I think they've usually handled it better, simply because every superhero in the Marvel Universe lives within like a 3-block radius of the Fantastic Four building.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's such a shame.
Although they're doing a little bit better with that.
Like, everyone, I agree. And I think this is really true to... I think trying to kick off a Spider-Man film with one of those low-level thugs is actually a better idea than going Green Goblin, really.
Right. I hope we never see the Goblin. God, I hope we don't.
Yeah, just because we've seen him so many times. Like, yeah. I just don't have any interest in them.
I've never liked him as a character.
I don't mind him. It's just that we spent 3 films on the Norman Osborn arc in the Raimi films, and it was introduced in Amazing 2, and it isn't that interesting. And it's another thing where the Green Goblin arc also doesn't really, even in the Raimi films, which I love, it doesn't work as Spider-Man's early stories.
Right.
You need time with Harry and with Norman for that to work. It just makes me sad when you think of how many of the New York family we've got back. Everyone's always saying they wish Marvel could get back X-Men. I wish Marvel could get back Fantastic Four. I'd love to have the Baxter building in New York, near the Avengers building. You know what I mean?
Right.
Marvel could make Fantastic Four work. Fox can't, really. They're not brave enough to do it.
I almost want to say that if you wanted to bring the Fantastic Four back into the fold, if there's any sort of negotiations going on to do it, you almost have to bring them back You almost have to bring them back in like Guardians of the Galaxy. They find the Four floating out in space somewhere,
Well, that would really work if they'd left Earth in the 1960s and they were the 1960s versions of those characters, and they'd gone up and they got the cosmic rays. Set it in the present, but they go up into space and they're like, "Wow, okay, we thought these guys were dead," and they bring them back and they've been in suspended animation and they have their powers. That'd be great, because then you'd have these characters who live in the modern world, but are those 1960s versions of themselves.
Right, and then you have the situation of you got like Susan Storm, who, for all intents and purposes, was a product of kind of that 1950s mentality when it comes to like housewives.
Right.
And now living in a time when, feminism is a thing. And you have Reed Richards, who, for all intents and purposes, was a genius. But now everything has advanced so far past him that he's not.
Having to relearn, yeah.
Right. And then you have, the Thing, who... The Thing, I think, would be the most interesting character because, like, for him, he'd still be kind of tied up on this whole thing, like, oh, don't see me, no one can look at me. But, like, the rest of the world's just like, okay.
Also, he's in a world of, like, smartphones and things like that, so people can take pictures of him wherever he goes.
Right, And then, got Johnny Storm, where that whole jock, sort of thing just doesn't fly so well,
Yeah.
He tries, to hit on women, and they're just like, oh, shut the fuck up,
Right, like, you could have this thing where in the 1960s, Johnny Storm goes out and drinks malted milk and then goes in hot rod races,
Right.
And when he gets back, everybody's auto-driving electric cars with airbags,
Right.
That would work so well. So well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you're listening, Marvel, hire me and Owen on to make your...
Oh, we would write a great Fantastic Four film. And
I
you could
think
even
we
do
could.
things
I
like
think
you
we
could
would.
have them in those same stupid outfits, and they'd be like, well, this is what everyone was wearing in the gymnasiums last time we were working out,
Right.
And then eventually upgrade them to some better ones. I will say the Fantastic Four costumes, there isn't a cool update of that. Just put them in civvies,
There was one time when they had some cool outfits.
Oh yeah.
But it wasn't because they were the Fantastic Four. When they were the Future Foundation for a while, those were some cool suits.
The Future Foundation.
I thought those were some cool ass suits.
I remember what they
Spider-Man
looked like. I'm gonna look them up. Do you remember when Marvel outsourced Fantastic Four for a while and they went into a new universe for a bit?
No, I don't remember that.
There was a period when Marvel was trying to get around some of their expenses by basically taking characters and outsourcing them, so they would just be produced by other people for a bit, and they went out of continuity for a little while. They entered a new continuity, basically.
I don't remember that at all.
Let me look it up.
Did you see the Future Foundation stuff?
I did. I do remember those. They were good.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't the only ones. I think they were supposed to do a few people, and then they didn't.
Yeah, because it wasn't supposed to be like 4. They decided to like up their ranks and bring in a bunch of people.
Damn it. Keep talking.
No,
Marvel
sorry.
Knights.
Okay.
This was it. Okay.
Oh, what? Marvel Knights?
Okay, here we go. Marvel Knights was an imprint of Marvel Comics that contained material taking place just outside the Marvel Universe. The imprint originated in 1998 when Marvel outsourced 4 titles, Black Panther, The Punisher, Daredevil, and Inhumans, to Quesada and Jimmy Palmiotti's Company Event Comics. Event hired the creative teams for the Marvel Knights line, while Marvel published them. So basically, Marvel published the comics, but it was run by this company, Event Comics. Now, Fantastic Four became one of them. In 1998, I'll read you a little bit of this, but I won't read the whole Wikipedia article.
Okay.
In 1998, Marvel Comics, which had just filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, asked Quesada to work for Marvel in a more exclusive capacity and contracted him and his Event Comics partners to produce a line of Marvel books dubbed Marvel Knights. As editor of Marvel Knights, Quesada worked blah 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 blah. Marvel Knights stepped away from long-running story arcs and heavy focus on continuity that was a prime feature of Marvel Comics during this period. Instead, the imprint focused on strong standalone stories and high production qualities. So basically, for a short time period, around about 1998, these Marvel Knights characters, and Marvel Knights.
I remember Marvel Knights because Marvel Knights put out some really cool stuff.
Right, and then there was one called Marvel Knights 4, and that was the Fantastic Four. Now, if I remember rightly, during this time, those characters, the ones that got ongoing series, didn't get... The Marvel Knights became, for some of them, their main book for a little while. So Fantastic Four, actually, they left continuity. And they were the only characters that within the Marvel Knights imprint were aware of the fact that they had left continuity. Does that make sense?
Oh, okay.
So in universe, they went to a different universe.
Well, okay, so hold on. So from what I remember about Marvel Knights is not a separate universe. Marvel Knights, for all intents and purposes, was still in universe. It was just, we're going to tell the stories we want to tell and not give a shit about the continuity.
Right. But
they're still 616.
Well, that's what it means when it says just outside Earth 616. Technically, were...
It's almost...
in their own space, you know?
Right. It's almost like Fargo, right? The TV show now, where it's like, oh yeah, it takes place in the same city that the movie did, but they're telling their own thing and not really caring about.
Right. Oh no,
movie,
I know it's not like a totally separate universe, but it was a universe recognition of the fact that these weren't actually produced by Marvel, if you know what I mean. They were just published by Marvel. It's the outsourcing that kind of interests me. If I remember rightly, Spider-Man Daredevil was a Marvel Knights book, wasn't it?
Yes. Well, at least Daredevil was.
No, the Spider-Man Daredevil together book.
Right. I think so. Because they did something that, and to this day, I still think Netflix should not have called them the Defenders. I think they should call them the Knights.
That would work.
Because that's where we got the first idea of these street-level characters coming together to take on... I think they're taking on the Kingpin. It was Spider-Man, Daredevil, the Punisher. I want to say like Moon Knight showed up.
God, I'd love to see him show up on the TV show. Just for a laugh.
Okay. As a tangent, on Comixology, it might still be on sale. But they had a trade of Moon Knight, the newest series, the first volume, on sale for $5. So I picked it up and read it. I don't know if I'm going to continue reading it, but it wasn't bad.
Fair
and
enough.
It's actually there are some things they do in it that are really, really, really interesting and
okay.
pretty cool.
Here's what we got. I found out. There was a series called Marvel Knights 4, and it was one of the longer-running Marvel Knights. It ran for 27 issues, which most Marvel Knights books were either like 4 one-offs, you know?
Yeah.
And basically, this is what happened. They announced that the playwright Robert Aguirre Sacasa, I don't actually know who that is, Roberto Aguirre Sacasa, right? Oh, he writes for Glee. Was going to be taking over the Fantastic Four. This was massively unpopular because at that time, this was when Mark Waid was running Fantastic Four.
Right.
And people didn't want Mark Waid to no longer be running Fantastic Four, and it was perceived to be like a publicity move rather than Waid wanting to move on or anything like that. So what they did was the normal Fantastic Four run didn't finish. That carried on with Mark Waid, and they moved Roberto Aguirre Sacasa. They made what was going to be his run a Marvel Knights run in like a split timeline. Does that make sense?
Okay.
and then that was
Okay.
reintegrated at the end of his run. There we go. That makes more sense. I must have misfiled that a little bit in my brain. But apparently his run was not actually that well received.
Mm-hmm.
But interesting. The Fantastic Four. It's not real. They're not really. I must admit, they're not really characters I follow in the comics that much.
I don't even know if they have a comic anymore.
Oh, the poor Fantastic Four. The problem is, there's just not that much to say about them these days.
They're such products of the time that they came out.
Right, and they don't update well.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, those are the trailers, huh?
Did you have anything else to say about Spider-Man? We didn't talk that much.
No, I think it looks good. I think they're doing some pretty cool stuff with it. One, yeah, you finally got an actual kid playing kid Spider-Man, you know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Andrew Garfield did just fine. Tobey Maguire did fine, but they were like 30 years old playing high school kids, you know? It was always weird. Same thing, like, okay, I remember it was a realization I had not too long ago. It never really dawned on me. So, you know, in that first Sam Raimi film, there's that famous upside down kiss,
Right.
right? And one of the what makes that scene so famous is the fact that you can clearly see Kirsten Dunst's nipples poking through her shirt.
Basically.
And I remember, you know, as a kid being like, "Oh man, that's pretty hot." You know, I was a teenager, like, fuck yeah. And I got older and I thought, like, yeah, that was still pretty hot. They were high schoolers, man. Like,
No,
they're
they weren't.
technically high schoolers, and you had Mary Jane running around in that skimpy little kimono for a while, and but they're.
Yeah.
It's one of those weird realizations where it's like, shit.
Yeah, and it's when you realize that they were supposed to be in their mid-20s. Tobey Maguire really looked no older, and was still
Right.
looking, and was only starting to look age appropriate. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I'm curious to see this, and what I'm really excited about is it doesn't look like we're going to get any sort of Uncle Ben nonsense. We don't need the origin story again.
I played the Batman Arkham VR thing recently,
Yeah.
and I haven't watched Let's Plays of that because I really wanted to sit down and experience it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm playing it, and I'm in the menu, and I'm like, oh my god, how's this going to begin? What are we going to do? And then I'm the size of an 8-year-old, and we step out from behind a theater, and my parents look massive, and I'm like, really? Like, one of my favorite tweets I ever saw, and I wish I could remember who tweeted it, but it was about they were saying that, like, Batman's origin story is so well known that the 1989 Batman movie begins not with it, but with a reference to it.
Right.
And yet people still think we need to see it every time.
Yeah.
Because, like, the entire conceit of the opening of the 1989 Batman movie is you think that kid's Bruce Wayne, and it's set in the past. And then you find out it's not. Right? You know what I mean?
Right. So, yeah, I mean, that's exactly why. Like, I don't need to see Tom Holland get bit by a spider. You know?
Unless it's incidental to the plot. In which case, I'd probably enjoy that.
I mean, but there's other stuff they're doing with this movie that... I mean, okay, the movie itself looks pretty cool, and I'm going to go see it. It looks pretty... I think it looks awesome. But it's some of the other little things that they've been doing that really shouldn't be consequential at all, but because of the world we live in have become. Mary Jane being a black girl, played by Zendaya, I think that's her name.
I'm outraged they didn't stick to the origin of the comics of Mary Jane as girl with face behind lampshade. No, I totally agree.
But then also, I think that bigger kid who's hanging out, I think, is he playing Ned?
Yeah.
Is he playing Ned?
Yeah.
Ned Bates, or when
Yep.
Ned?
Yes, he is.
Yeah. That's a cool addition. Yeah, just stuff like that. I think is pretty neat. You know, having
I completely agree.
Aunt May played by Marissa Tomei. You know, where it's not this old biddy. It's this.
I completely and totally agree. Although I can't shake the feeling that Mary Jane is only black because it was intended as a compromise a little bit to the people who wanted Miles Morales. A little bit. And my opinion on this is that it doesn't matter, even if that is the reason. But I do wonder if there was a conversation somewhere along the line about whether they would cast a black lead and they decided not to. Like, a lot of people say, well, Peter Parker is so much more famous as Spider-Man than Miles Morales, and I get that, but I do wonder how much that actually plays into the decision compared to...
I would love to see the addition of Miles Morales. Even if he's not as Spider-Man, I would love to see him show up. What I'm actually really excited about for Spider-Man is the fact that he's such a young character.
Yeah.
He's a teenager, and he's going to be with the exception of Tony Stark showing up, he's going to be a focus of this movie. It's going to be carried by a teenage cast.
Not too late. Not too late to get Jake Lloyd in through the power of CGI.
Which, to me, opens the door for things, because they've talked about how they're not the Marvel Universe, Cinematic Universe, isn't ending with Infinity War.
No, of course it's not.
Like they're just going to stop making.
It's
these
never
movies.
ending, John.
Right. I mean, we are stuck with this for ever. For all intents and purposes, we will be 7 years old talking about, oh, did you know they're rebooting Moon Knight again? You know.
Oh, we have a message in the chat, by the way.
It's going to get to that point where they're just going to start running out of damn characters and actors to play these characters. So it's going to be like, you know, oh, wow, Cloak and Dagger just brought in $140 million.
We have a message in chat from Outcast that says, I heard the run of Fantastic Four was discontinued due to the bad movies. Marvel wanted to focus on the characters that they own.
I did hear about that.
It wouldn't surprise me. There's been a lot of talk about Marvel
it's
wanting
the same
to...
reason. It's the same reason why they started to pull back on X-Men.
I must admit, I think this is kind of dumb. Like, if this is true, and I can fully believe that it is true, I don't really see what the long-term game plan is. What, drive Fox out of business by not making any new mutants? Oh no, they only have Wolverine, Storm, Cyclops, Professor X, Deadpool.
Well, I think
Colossus,
the idea is
Forge, Beast. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's
as sad as it sounds. It's for me, especially because I am such a big comic book fan. We're definitely starting to get to that point where the comics are starting to almost feel more like promotional material for the movies.
Yeah.
Because movies by far make more money for Marvel and Disney than the comic books ever
it's like the way
could.
it's like the way Hawkeye looks like Hawkeye from the Avengers now, instead of having his stupid purple suit, and you know.
Right. So we got to the point where they could make X-Men comics to the day they died, but they're not going to help them like sell a movie.
I agree completely.
What we saw, funny enough, is they started pulling back and they started trying to push out the Inhumans, right? They're like, no, look at the Inhumans. We're going to put the Inhumans in fucking everything. And look how awesome they are, right? They're way better than the mutants. And everyone's like, no, not really. And then Fox made a fucking run on it, where they're like, they put out First Class, and then Days of Future Past, and then okay, Apocalypse, not great, but then Logan. Now, they had a pretty good string of X-Men movies, and now, lo and behold, there's now like 4 new X-Men titles coming out.
Right.
One of them featuring Old Man Logan,
My
who
issue,
has jumped ship from his universe into the main universe.
my issue with this is this line of thinking is they aren't getting those X-Men rights back until the movies
Not anytime soon.
are done, right? And they aren't gonna kill the movies from that little comic book underground base of like, we are not making X-Men comics, therefore no one will watch the films because we are like we're pushing this boat. You know what I mean?
I don't think the idea was ever to try to kill Fox.
No, I know.
It's basically we're not going to help them along, you know?
But what's the... But I think they dramatically overestimate how much their contributions make a difference. Do you know what I mean? Like, if Marvel creates a new mutant tomorrow, and it's a really cool new mutant, and it ends up in an X-Men film, that's not going to turn the tables of this conflict. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, it's all about where they're going to make their money, because they make an X-Men comic. All right. Typically, comic books are sort of lost leaders. They don't make a ton of money back between the cost of print and shipping. I mean, you see the tide turning now with digital being becoming more and more, but you have to pay the artists, you have to pay the writers, and so you're never making a lot of money back on your comics. So if you're making a comic that, one, doesn't make you a ton of money, and two, actually helps your competition, maybe you pull back on it. But if your competition turns around and makes some movies that generates interest in your comics, then you put out the comics, then you can actually make a little cash on that.
I get that a little bit. I just think that this idea that it helps them, or that it creates a loss, or that even that competition doesn't ultimately help everybody, I think that's insular short-term thinking, not necessarily a valid point of view, because in the end, good comic book superhero movies helps everybody in that business. You know what I mean?
Well, that's not necessarily true. Sales for comics have not grown.
No, I know, but what I mean is, that's not going to affect Fox being able to make a really, really, really great X-Men movie, right? Isn't going to affect negatively the sales of the next Avengers movie. It's also not going to affect negatively the sales of any comics that you're working on. You know what I mean? Not really. And it might help. I don't know. I just don't understand the thinking of it. I get.
We're also having to look at situations now where we've now had two well-known situations where Marvel has had to deal with other companies for their characters back, right? Spider-Man, Quicksilver, and Scarlet.
Sure, and that sucks.
Witch.
That sucks, but for them, but I mean, for me, like, I can't get away from the fact that any deal that says Sony gets to make as many Spider-Man movies as they like forever, so long as they keep making them, is a really stupid deal. Like, for me, I'm still gobsmacked.
Well, those deals were made well before Marvel had any intentions of making their own movies.
Right. But what a stupid thing to do. Like, can you imagine making a deal with somebody that said, you know what? Even when you take into account that they might not want to make their own movies, what if they wanted to give someone else the rights for a bit? For me, it's such a stupid thing to do, that anybody would ever even consider making a deal that you have no way out of unless the other person fucks up, right? And
So here's the situation, though, right? They make this deal, right? They made this deal for the mutants, and they made a deal for Spider-Man.
Right.
Could you honestly believe? Could anyone possibly have the foresight to go, hey, they're going to make an X-Men movie and a Spider-Man movie, and 10 years down the road, we're going to have well over 30 fucking comic book movies? No one in their right mind would say that. They went, yeah, you can make this movie, you'll probably make a few bucks on it, it'll be a niche market thing, it'll be, a one-off deal, you won't make another one, we'll get the rights back eventually. No one in their right mind would think that when they made that first X-Men movie.
Right, but I'm not saying Marvel should have predicted that. I'm saying they shouldn't have made a deal that would have left them in a position where they would never get their rights back if the other person didn't want them to. Because that's basically what they did. As long as Sony
But that's how rights work. Like, that's how... There's never a case... Okay, I don't claim to know the inside outs of Hollywood dealing, but generally when it comes to rights, there's never really hard term limits on those things. It's never, hey, we're going to give you this character to make 3 movies. You get 3 movies.
Well, maybe not, but this is very much how things work in the video game industry, for example, where you very often see publishers, like, I think this is actually a bad thing in the game industry, the specific way this happens, but, like, Activision loses the rights to Star Trek games, and all of a sudden, all the Star Trek games that are on digital sale have to be pulled, right? For them, it's a temporary thing, absolutely. Now, I don't think it should be that excessive. I think if Activision loses the right to Star Trek games next year, like, whatever, whoever's got them, I don't think they should be able to go and make unlicensed Star Trek games, but I don't think they should lose the rights to distribute the ones they've already made. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
That's fair enough, but for me, it's not about... It might be industry standard, right? But they wouldn't do it today. You know what I mean? And I know that what you're saying is no one could predict it. Fine, fair enough, but that doesn't mean it was a sensible deal. You know what I mean? And it wasn't.
You also have to look at the nature of these products too. Whereas video games are never... There's no syndication for video games. With these movies, you're talking, okay, we have a theatrical run, then we have a DVD and a home sale run, and then we have a television syndication run.
Right.
Right. You need to be able to hang on to your rights.
Yeah, but I'm not saying no, but that's a slightly different issue. For example, Fox still has distribution rights on the 3 Star Wars films that they distributed back in the 70s and 80s, right? But that doesn't mean... Yeah, they still have the distribution because they had the distribution rights to those specific films, right? They finance the films, therefore they get the distribution rights. That's fine. I'm not saying Sony should lose the rights to distribute the Raimi films or the Garfield films. What I'm saying is, I don't really see how it's ever a sensible deal to make a deal that says you get to keep making Spider-Man films for as long as you want, as long as you make Spider-Man films, even if we change our mind, right? That to me, like, I don't see why we ever got to a position where someone thought that was a good idea, because it's so blatantly not, you know? But
just to address the chat real quick. Sorry, no. Continue your thought. I'm sorry. I thought you were finished.
No, it's fine. Go for it.
Just to address chat real quick. Or Chaos here says Wolverine is the only character who has any real draw from the X-Men. I would disagree with that. Because yes, I understand that he kind of exists a little outside the X-Men, but I think Deadpool owes much of his existence to the concept of X-Men and the mutants. And we clearly saw that Deadpool is a draw.
Not only that, but I think it depends on who you're asking. Like, I don't even necessarily think that to the average movie fan, Wolverine's that... When everybody says, oh, Wolverine is the real pull, and the movie studios clearly seem to think it, but if that's the case, why did Wolverine's first 2 solo movies do disappointingly? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
X-Men Origins
and
Wolverine is a bad film, but people didn't flock to see it before word of mouth got around, really, you know?
Right. And I think people would have gone to see a Professor X movie. I think people would have gone to see a Magneto movie.
Yeah, maybe not more than X-Men Origins Wolverine, but at least as many.
Right. And there's still talks about making the Gambit movie.
Yeah, and then you've got the other factor of fans as well, which is that people who like Wolverine, but X-Men fans are often not that taken with Wolverine as a character, if they're just X-Men fans. In fact, most X-Men fans I know, when you look at what their favorite eras of the show then, like, there are Wolverine fans among them, but they like, a lot of people really love that era before the new X-Men, you know, when they were proper students, the kind of First Class era. I mean, I think First Class did better than both of the Wolverine films, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And Wolverine's not in that one. Not really.
I mean, there's no doubt that Wolverine is an incredibly popular character.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because like everyone tries to talk about the big 3 of Marvel being Captain America and Iron Man and Thor. No, not at all. It's Wolverine, it's Spider-Man, and it's Deadpool right now.
Well, I mean, Deadpool's a very recent addition. Wolverine and Spider-Man have been on that list forever. Like, I would say the classic big 3 are Spider-Man, Wolverine... Oh, God, I don't even know who I would put in a third for Marvel, for like a timeless classic,
Hulk?
Hulk. Yeah, probably. And that even then, only because of that 70s TV show.
Yeah.
And then the Avengers have become very popular recently. Like Captain America, people who think Captain America is like a big player in the Marvel universe, recently, yes. Traditionally, no. He's been a very minor character. Like, Captain America is one of those characters, you can be into comics for a while when you're a kid, and then find out about him. Until recently. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like, there's a Captain America? You know?
Right. So I want to really circle back around to my original point. I don't know how I ended up on this tangent. But having a Spider-Man movie featuring young characters, to me, opens up a lot of doors for movies in the future with some of these young characters. Like, yes, I made it painfully aware and painfully clear that I love Miss Marvel. I would love to see her get a movie. I think it would be awesome, and I think if Spider-Man does well, especially among a younger audience, featuring a younger character, we could see that. We could see, theoretically, we could see an inclusion of Miles Morales at some point.
Or
we could see,
like, speaking of the X-Men, we could see a proper Jean Grey, Scott Summers, Beast as 16, 17-year-olds.
Right.
going to that school.
We could get Cloak and Dagger, honestly. They were younger characters too, starting out, and they have an incredibly dark story that could be told. Who else? There's a lot of young characters out there, and people don't really think about them that much. I mean, do I want like the Young Avengers movie? No, I don't. I couldn't care less to see the Patriot, you know. But
that'd be good.
You know, there's, you know, yeah, there's.
You know what Marvel should do? Sorry, this is a
What's
total
that?
tangent. I apologize. No, it just occurred to me that what they should do is, you remember when diversity was first starting to get a lot of press, and so there'd be news reports like Alan Scott is gay, and isn't this shocking?
Right.
You know, if they really want to like cripple the competition, they should just do things like, in shocking new arc, Wolverine is a white supremacist. The Fantastic Four, eugenicist Holocaust nightmare, you know? Marvel reveals that Spider-Man to become a sex offender, registered sex offender, you know?
Jesus Christ. Once sex offended, now doing the offending.
That would really screw the competition, wouldn't it? Because how would you go forward doing that? Like,
Right.
they'd have to be like, well, our Spider-Man takes place in a completely separate... Because they've still got to respect the source material, right? They can't just outright slam Marvel, you know? So they've got to be like, our films take place in a separate, distinct universe to the much beloved Marvel universe where Spider-Man is, in fact, a registered sex offender. And it's not... They just draw him with, like, glasses and a string vest under the Spider-Man mask, you know?
Right.
Go the whole hog. I think that'd be great. I think Marvel should do that to get their characters back.
Oh, was it Marvel? Yeah, Marvel had Runaways. We can get the fucking Runaways.
I'm trying to think about the younger
If you've
characters I
never
would
read
like.
the Runaways first
No.
run, it is great. I highly suggest anyone to go on and check that out. And you get that crazy, like you were saying, oh, Spider-Man's a sex offender. Like, these characters were all kids, and their parents are a cabal of fucking, like, villains who are going to basically sell out their children for, like, deals with the devil.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So, you get that whole run of just abuse, you know?
Wouldn't it be funny? Wouldn't it be funny if now DC's like, oh, we should put Cyborg into the Justice League movie as an adult. If then superhero movies starring teenagers become really, really big, and they're like, oh, he's leaving the Justice League to join a new group, the Teen Titans. He's like, they're like, when you're in the main Justice League, why are you now?
Well, that's when they switch it around and pick like an older character and just make him a teenager. And it's like, oh shit, what movie haven't we come out with yet? Hal Jordan is 13.
It's pubescent Galactus.
Which is Marvel.
I don't care. Darkseid. Teenage Darkseid.
Yeah, teenage Darkseid. You know, going through his pubescent ages on Apocalypse, you know. Big Barda won't talk to me. Why don't you like me?
Steppenwolf is a really weird choice. Do you think it was originally supposed to be Caliban, and then they found out that they put the other Caliban in Logan, and they were like, well, we can't have Caliban? Steppenwolf.
I get the weird... I don't even know why they chose Steppenwolf. I think it was... It almost feels more like Snyder going, oh, I know this character, so I'm gonna... You know, it's almost like him flexing his geek muscle.
Yeah, but whenever they do this, whenever they put really obscure characters in like that, they never put them in true to source. They just make a character they want and call them the same thing. It's weird, though. Do you know what I will say, though? I am all in favor of a storyline that involves Apocalypse and the New Gods and isn't actually about Darkseid.
Right.
Although, like...
Oh, God, the New Gods. My God, that was such a... Man, listeners, dear listeners, fellow Biscuit boys and girls, if you want to just see the insanity that eventually gave birth to all these beloved movies, go back and read the original run of the New Gods.
It's such a great comic series.
Holy shit.
I like that was Jack Kirby, right? Everybody was like, he just wanted to go away and write the project he always wanted to write, and that was what he decided on. He was like, so it's just a load of fucked up people who behave like the Greek pantheon, and they live in space.
It wasn't even... God, it wasn't even that. It was just... It was almost like, okay, we have this, like, group of characters, and Superman was one of them, by the way. And it was like, we have these, like, 5 characters. One of them is Superman, one of them is Darkseid, and the other ones are people you have no fucking clue who they are. But they are incredibly powerful, and we're going to tell 7 non-connected tales about them, and then at the end, they're going to come together somehow, but not as, like, a team. It's... Whew! New Gods.
I love it. I really love it. It's one of my favorite comics.
Yeah,
I don't know.
okay,
It's not even, it hasn't run for a
to...
long time, has it?
Yeah, okay, so... It's,
This is the longest show we've done in a long time.
Yeah, I want to bring up New Gods on Wikipedia, and I'm just gonna read just a little bit, okay? Let's see here. Publication history. Let's see here. The New Gods are natives of the twin planets of New Genesis and Apocalypse. New Genesis is an idyllic planet filled with unspoiled forests, blah, 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 ruled by the High Father, while Apocalypse is a nightmarish dystopia filled, led by Darkseid. All right, fair enough, okay? And then we're gonna go down a little bit here, and I'm trying to see here. Oh, this is what I'm looking for. Yeah, this isn't what I'm looking for, so I apologize.
It does, however, have one of my favorite facts on here, which is that Jack Kirby's fourth world is... That was the universe he was building, kind of within the Marvel universe.
Yep.
He actually started... It's quite a serious comic, you know? Like, it's of the time when comics started to get more thoughtful and serious. But he actually began the story in issue 133 of Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah.
Which, to this day, is one of my favorite names for a... Like, who was that? That was aimed at, like, young kids, right? Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen. The idea was it would be, like, a... I don't know. Like, the thing about that is, like, I get the Lois Lane one, right? I don't necessarily think that the comics should be too gendered, but I get the Lois Lane one of being like, for girls who only read the romance comics, that's their demographic, make a romance comic with Superman in it to kind of ease them onto Superman, right? I get that, right? Because the general Superman comic was kind of aimed at boys, right? But Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen seems to be, for someone who finds a normal 1950s to 1960s Superman comic too intense and gritty, here's one that's a little softer and milder around the edges. Like it's for the kids for whom the regular issue of Superman would keep them up at night. And yet, the entire plot seems to be something really, really terrible happens to Jimmy. Superman acts smug about it for like 2/3 of an issue, and then saves the day by kind of being a prick about it. Like, I don't get why anybody would choose that over the Superman comic. I would never have done as a kid. I'd have been like, you know what? I'll have the Superman one where he's fighting robots, and the one where Jimmy gets himself turned invisible by using vanishing cream, and Superman has to humiliate him into becoming visible again. That can just stay on the shelf, you know?
Yeah. So, okay, if you want to know the true insanity of the New Gods, their existence and all their wacky tales through 4 volumes of comics is essentially the groundwork that Final Crisis is based on.
No!
Oh yeah, fucking Final Crisis could not exist as it is without the New Gods. And in all intents and purposes, Final Crisis was almost designed to make sense of the New Gods in those comic books. It didn't work because it's all fucking insanity. But yeah, no, this episode has gone on pretty long, so should we wrap up here?
Sure.
All right.
You want to do it? You saw us in.
Yeah. You've been listening to Those Aren't Biscuits. I have been one of your hosts, Jonathan Cadotte, and with me as always is Owen Adams.
Hello.
Where can they find you, man?
You can go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Owen Adams, or my website, www.theowenadamsproject.com.
Cool. And you can find me at my blog, which is johncperson.wordpress.com, or you can follow me on Twitter, which is johncperson at johncperson. I always get that mixed up. You can follow the show directly by going to @notbiscuits, or you can go to the blog, which is notbiscuits.wordpress.com, or we have a Discord now where you can interact and talk with us directly. The links are below in the description. So please, and if you like this, yeah, give us a like, give us a follow.
Hit the subscribe button.
Yeah, hit that subscribe button. And, yeah, help us make this even better.
Make biscuits great again.
Yes, make biscuits great again. We're gonna build a wall around the pastry department.
It'd be just terrific. That was my Trump impression. It wasn't very good. But I was grabbing my cat at the time.
All right, everyone. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.